The hum under the floor wouldn't stop trembling. Elon felt it before he heard anything, the faint, nervous quiver of machinery settling under the weight of a storm rolling over the California coast. It wasn't the kind of storm people checked weather apps for. This one pressed against the windows with a low, pulsing growl, as if the air itself was trying to warn him of something he hadn't yet named. He exhaled slowly, letting the darkened glass of the SpaceX mezzanine reflect a face he barely recognized these days, tired, sharper around the edges, a little more human than the image the world kept insisting he wear. The lights in the corridor flickered soft, bluish, hesitant. The building answered with a slight metallic tick, like a distant clock adjusting itself. Maybe it was fitting. The country felt like it was holding its breath, and he was caught somewhere inside that pause. A single sentence drifted through him, uninvited. I don't know if the world wants me to rise or to break. He shook the thought off, but it left an echo. Below him, the factory floor murmured with soft conveyor rolls, pressure valves snapping shut, robot arms releasing their gentle hydraulic sighs. Even at night, SpaceX never slept. The hum was a heartbeat. The heartbeat was a promise. He needed that promise tonight. A distant clang cut through the air, sharp, hollow, like a wrench hitting steel. His shoulders tightened. Somewhere in the dark, a maintenance drone adjusted its path, its motors whining in a thin, nervous ripple. Another storm gust slapped the outer walls, rattling a service ladder. He checked his phone again. No updates. No messages. Not from the board. Not from the press teams. Not from anyone who might have had something reassuring to say about the day's avalanche. Not that reassurance ever came. He rubbed a thumb across his brow, grounding himself. In the reflection, the faintest trace of neon orange warning lights pulsed behind him. A pattern. Slow, persistent. Something else shifted in the dark. He turned. Thought you'd be here. Claire's voice floated from the hallway, soft, worn with familiarity but carrying a hint of something heavier tonight. She stepped into the half-light, her boots clicking softly against the gridded metal floor. Claire had worked with him for nearly a decade, engineer, strategist, occasional translator between his brain and the world. She carried a tablet under her arm and a tension in her jaw she couldn't quite hide. He gestured toward the storm-thrashed windows. Hard night to be anywhere else. Hard day, she corrected gently. He didn't reply. A soft rustle of her coat brushed the silence. Then the faint buzz of her tablet powering on. Then the hum lower this time, almost sympathetic from a fusion test core somewhere beneath the floor. The building had its own moods. Tonight, they matched his. Claire approached, voice low. The media cycle will calm down. It always does. He let out a quick breath, half a laugh, half exhaustion. That's what they said last time. Last time did calm down. After 6 weeks. And you survived them. Elon didn't answer. He knew she meant well, but the weight in his chest wasn't about headlines. It wasn't even about him. It was about the sense growing, undeniable, that the future was tilting faster than anyone was ready for. Claire's eyes softened. You're doing too much again. He offered a crooked smile. Define too much. Everything, she said simply. Lightning cracked across the sky, bleaching the mezzanine in ghost white for a heartbeat. Thunder followed, deep, rolling, baritone vibrating through the floor plates. The air vents hissed. When the Ave readed, and that is very set of. The Sunder, you and high talk, ratings a very set of. The 40 set of. Somewhere behind them, a pneumatic door thumped once, as if the building swallowed a breath. Claire braced her hands against the railing, staring down at the factory floor. You saw the numbers. Yes. And you saw the reaction. Yes. You're still calm. No, he said softly. Just quiet. Her head turned, searching his expression. What are you afraid of? They're taps of a resin. The question landed harder than she meant. It always did, when someone asked with honesty instead of expectation. He took a moment before answering. That I'll push too far, he murmured. Or not far enough. That I'll hesitate at the wrong moment. Or move when I should stand still. That I'll become the obstacle instead of the engine. His fingers tightened on the rail. Or that I already have. Claire said nothing. The storm's wind whistled through a vent, seam thin, keening, a lonely blade of sound. He swallowed. Sometimes I wonder if the country wants a hero or a villain, and sometimes I wonder which one I'm becoming by accident. That's not for them to decide, she said. But they do decide, he countered. Every time they react, every time they interpret, every time they create a version of me I don't even recognize. Making the fires, Hauer from Rexinovo, Time Sal, Consens, Podically, well, now, Rexinov, Enda, now, Rexinov, orating Al. Making the fires, Claire's expression shifted something between sympathy and frustration. Maybe you don't need to fight the story people tell. He looked out over the floor again. That's the problem. Stories shape the future as much as rockets do. Claire hesitated, then stepped closer, voice soft. Then tell a better one. For a moment, silence held. Then a new sound entered the space, soft, rhythmic, metallic. Not the storm, not the factory. A repeated tap tap tap, coming from the far side of the mezzanine. Elon's brows lowered. Claire stiffened. The tapping stopped. Then someone shifted in the dim corridor. A faint mechanical tick answered, like a servo under strain. The air felt colder suddenly. He straightened. Maintenance scheduled anything up here? Claire shook her head. Not tonight. Another tick. Closer. He felt his pulse in his throat, steady, tight, controlled. Claire's voice dropped into a whisper. Do you want security? No, he said quietly. I want to understand. The lights along the far wall flickered in a slow, unsteady pattern, 1 to 2, pause, 1, 2, 3, too deliberate to be random, too subtle to be an error. The building groaned lightly as if adjusting its stance against the wind. Then a soft, almost gentle scrape traveled along the metal floor. Claire inhaled sharply. He held up a hand. The scrape stopped. He waited. Sometimes silence carried more information than sound. After several seconds, the mechanical tick returned, but this time it receded, fading back into the shadows, dissolving into the heartbeat hum of the factory. A distant exhaust fan coughed awake. The storm outside rolled another low growl across the complex. Claire finally exhaled. Could have been a drone, doing a diagnostic sweep. Could have been, he said. But he didn't believe it. He looked at her. You felt that too. She hesitated, then nodded. Something was watching. I can't, Staval. He didn't say it out loud, but he felt it too, the sense of attention. Not hostile, but weighted, like standing on the edge of a decision that wasn't his alone to make. He turned back toward the glass, his reflection haloed in faint electronic glow. Tomorrow the hearings begin. Claire winced. You're ready. No, he whispered. But I'll go anyway. Why? His fingers drummed once against the rail, quiet, thoughtful. Because the future doesn't defend itself. Another gust hammered the windows. The mezzanine shuddered. The storm felt angrier now, closer, almost alive. The hair on Claire's arms lifted. Whenever hair lances, whenever hair lances down, whenever hair laxes, whenever hair lances, whenever hair laxes. The factory lights flickered again, brief, stuttering breaths of illumination. Then he said something so softly she almost missed it. I keep thinking, what if all of this is the test before the real test? Claire's throat tightened. You really believe that? Yes, he looked down at his hands, at the machines below, at the storm beyond. I think the next decade is going to demand more from humanity than we've admitted. Not more tech, more courage. Another mechanical tick echoed faintly from the corridor like a reminder. The two of them stood quiet for a long moment, letting the storm pound its rhythm around them. Finally, Claire spoke. Whatever comes tomorrow, you won't face it alone. A small smile touched his mouth. No one ever truly does. The wind howled. A steel beam groaned. Somewhere in the depths of the factory, an engine prototype rumbled awake with a low electric snarl. He closed his eyes for a single breath, feeling the vibrations through the soles of his shoes. A chaotic world, a trembling future, an orchestra of forces pulling in every direction. Then he opened them again, steadier, sharper, ready in the way a person only is when they've run out of room to retreat. Claire touched his arm lightly. We should get downstairs. The team's waiting. He nodded. Let's go. They turned toward the stairwell, but the storm wasn't done yet. The hallway tasted of metal and storm-churned air. Elon paused at the top of the stairwell, one hand on the cold railing, listening. The building had shifted into a different rhythm, quieter, but denser, like a machine thinking behind its own walls. Wind scraped along the exterior panels in ragged breaths. A single emergency light pulsed faint amber, washing the corridor in a bruised glow. He felt Claire stop beside him. Her breath slipped out in a thin cloud, barely visible, but enough to confirm the drop in temperature that wasn't supposed to happen inside a regulated aerospace facility. Something deeper than the building exhaled, too slow, mechanical, almost contemplative. A whisper in the back of his mind tightened. Whatever's waiting downstairs isn't just the team. He forced the tension down. The world was already reading too much into him. He didn't need to start doing the same. "Ready?" Claire asked, though her voice carried the faint tremor of someone already bracing for an answer. "Let's not keep the future waiting," he murmured. They began their descent. The stairwell spiraled alongside glass panels that looked into the lower levels, where robots crawled gently along assembly tracks. Their servos hummed in a soft tritone pattern, a motif Elon didn't recognize. He knew nearly every frequency in this building by feel. These were off by a fraction, like someone breathing with someone else's lungs. Halfway down, Claire slowed. "Do you hear that?" He had. A faint ticking, not random, not mechanical failure, paced perfectly between the factory's rhythms. A counterbeat. A watcher's heartbeat. He kept walking, each step steady. Ignore it for now. But what if? We'll learn more downstairs. Not a promise. A direction. They reached the main floor, where the environment opened into the cavernous manufacturing bay, ceiling lost in shadow, machines gliding through choreographed paths, cables dangling like steel vines. The storm drummed overhead, muffled by insulation but still forceful enough to send vibrations through the ground. The team was gathered by the central console cluster, their voices low, their movements restless. A few looked up with the guilty stiffness of people caught worrying about something they weren't sure how to name. Raj, head of propulsion systems, approached first. His usual, stoic, composure, cracked at the edges tonight. We had another reading. His usual stoic, Raj, head of propulsion system. Elon's jaw tightened. "Where?" "Sector J4. Raj handed him a datapad. Same interference pattern as before. We brushed it off the first time as external electromagnetic bleed from the storm, but the signature repeated at the same timestamp. Twice. One. Brushed it off. Claire swore under her breath. "What's the amplitude?" Elon asked. "Minor, but deliberate." Raj glanced at Claire, then back at him. "And it aligned with your mezzanine anomaly." "So, it wasn't a drone," Claire whispered. No one contradicted her. A low bass thump trembled through the floor, distant, heavy, almost like something large shifting its weight deep within the complex. Metal cables overhead rattled softly. A cooling vent groaned awake, blowing a cold breath across them. Elon's instinct tensed. Not fear, anticipation. A recognition he didn't want to acknowledge. Someone is probing the system from the inside. He scanned the datapad again, eyes narrowing. The interference is mapping something. "What?" Raj asked. "Us," Elon said. A hush rippled through the team. Then the lights flickered. Not in chaos, no. They dimmed and brightened in a slow, pulsed pattern. 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, 3. The same rhythm from the mezzanine. Claire's voice broke the silence, tight with certainty. "Elon, someone's talking to the building." The factory went still for a moment, machines slowing, arms freezing mid-motion, belts quieting as though listening. Thunder cracked overhead, rattling the rafters. The emergency lights along the far wall pulsed again, but this time the color washed a deep electric blue, cold and almost oceanic. Raj took a step back. "That's not one of our protocols." "No," Elon said softly. "It's not." A single servo, somewhere behind them, twitched a sharp, metallic click that ricocheted across the assembly bay. Then another, then silence. Someone swallowed loudly. Finally, Claire whispered, "Do you want lockdown?" "No," Elon said. "Not until we know what it wants." The team exchanged uneasy glances. No one said what they were thinking. "You're assuming it wants something at all?" He stepped toward the central console and placed a palm on the access screen. The interface lit beneath his touch, casting pale light up his arm. "Run a silent diagnostic sweep," he said. Raj shook his head. "If this thing is piggybacking the system, a sweep might alert it." Elon stared into the display, letting the glow shape his features into sharper, colder edges. That's the point. Claire's hand found his sleeve. Elon. Be careful. I am, he said, but his mind whispered the truth. Caution isn't what the moment demands. He initiated the sweep. Instantly, the building responded. A surge of air wove through the vents, cool, needle-fine, brushing across the skin like a warning. Machines shivered. Robotic arms curled inward, as if retreating. Overhead lights flickered into a dim, wavering twilight. Then, the interference pattern lit the console like a heartbeat. Pulse, pulse, pause. Pulse, pulse, pulse. The lights echoed the rhythm. Raj swore. It's answering you. Claire stepped closer, eyes wide. What does that mean? Elon watched the pattern with a strange sense of familiarity. Not recognition, intuition. As if something deep in him understood the cadence. It means, he said quietly, that whatever's inside the system isn't random. It's aware. A cold tremor traveled down the length of the manufacturing bay. Cables overhead swayed in a broken harmony. A robot at the far end, Unit K7, activated without command, its joints whining with a slow, deliberate turn of its head. It faced them. Its optical sensor glowed a muted sapphire, the same shade as the emergency lights. Claire's breath hitched. That's impossible. K7 doesn't have autonomous orientation capability. The robot took a single, precise step. Metal creaked. A conveyor belt jolted. Raj stumbled backward. But Elon remained still, watching, listening. Every sound in the room sharpened into distinct layers, the tremor of motors, the low hum of the storm, the whisper of air through ducts, the faint mechanical tick that had been watching them all night. He spoke softly, not to the team, but to the presence behind the interference. What do you want? The building answered with silence. Then click. A soft, deliberate sound, like a lock turning somewhere deep in the facility. Lights snapped back to full brightness, motors spun up, robotic arms resumed motion as if nothing had happened. K7 returned to its idle posture, its optic light fading to neutral white. The interference vanished from the console. Raj whispered, Did it just let go? Claire swallowed. Or it finished what it came to do. A final gust hammered the walls, shuddering the bay. The sound seemed to echo longer than physics allowed. Elon lowered his hand from the console. The world steadied, but his pulse did not. He looked at his reflection in the polished metal panel beside him, hair slightly displaced by static, shadows under his eyes, jaw set harder than before. He didn't see a man overwhelmed. He saw a man being measured, studied, judged. Claire approached, her voice soft. What are you thinking? One line, he said, barely audible. A thought I hoped I'd never have in this building. What line? He exhaled. That was a warning. The team around them fell silent, shifting uneasily. Breath shallow. Claire touched his shoulder. If this is connected to tomorrow's hearings. It's not, he said. This isn't political. It isn't corporate. It isn't anything the world is even talking about. His eyes drifted upward, toward the unseen rafters, the humming air vents, the silent spaces between machines. This is something else. A moment passed, thin, fragile, charged with the electricity of a future taking shape in the dark. Then the floor trembled. Not from the storm, from beneath. Claire jumped. What was? A deep groan echoed through the sublevels. Metal under stress. A pressure valve released with a sharp hiss. Lights flickered again, just once, as if blinking. Raj looked at Elon, voice trembling. Should I initiate full lockdown now? He wanted to say yes. He wanted to seal the building, sweep every circuit, hunt the anomaly down, but another instinct, sharper and more dangerous, rose in him. Locking it down might provoke it, and I need to know whether this thing is enemy, accident, or invitation. He shook his head. Not yet. The team looked horrified. Claire's voice cracked. Elon, this could be an emergent intelligence. I know. It could be unstable. I know. It could be watching us right now. He looked at her calm, steady, resolved. It is. Thunder rolled low, almost thoughtful, across the sky. The building's hum deepened, settling into a new rhythm. Elon straightened, gathering the tension in his spine and channeling it into something colder. Determination, or arrogance, or courage. Sometimes the difference is blurred. We're not dealing with malfunction, he said. We're dealing with intent, Claire whispered. From where? He stared into the pulsing glow of the console, letting its reflections paint his face in sharp geometric light. Tomorrow's hearings aren't about the future, he said quietly. They're about the past. And this? Raj asked. This, Elon murmured, is what's coming. The storm outside screamed against the walls. The building answered with a low, reverberating hum. Something shifted in the dark, and the night was far from over. The first warning was the change in the air pressure. Elon felt it before any machine registered it. A soft, almost intimate collapse of silence inside the massive aerospace bay, like the building inhaled and didn't exhale back. The hairs on his arms lifted. A cold ripple threaded down his spine. Claire noticed too. Her eyes flicked upward. Elon. Something shifted. The second warning followed, a low-frequency vibration trembling through the floor. Not the storm, not machinery, not anything built by human hands. A faint metallic resonance drifted across the rafters, a sound like steel remembering it used to be molten. The team froze. Elon's heartbeat sharpened. It's moving again. Whatever it is. He stepped forward, scanning the far end of the bay. The lights wavered at their edges, a subtle distortion like heat haze but cold. A thin mist gathered where there shouldn't be any, curling along the floor toward the old cargo lift. Raj clenched his tablet. We should evacuate. Elon, this is getting out of hand. No, Elon said quietly. If we run from our own system, we'll lose control of it completely. But we don't even know what... A sudden clang sliced through Raj's sentence. A heavy one. Like a dropped beam or a slammed gate, the sound thundered through the factory, echoing into the steel bones of the building. Claire grabbed Elon's sleeve. That was below us. He nodded slowly. Sub-level 3. Raj paled. But nothing scheduled. That level's sealed for rework. Not sealed enough, Elon murmured. A distant ticking slow, deliberate rose from the cargo lift shaft. Claire's fingers dug into Elon's jacket. What if it wants us to follow? Elon didn't deny it. What scared the team wasn't the idea the entity had intelligence. It was the idea it had patience. He took one steadying breath. Raj, stay with the team. Monitor any changes in atmospheric pressure, electromagnetic flux, anything that spikes. Claire, with me. Raj shoved his tablet at Elon. At least take a sensor relay. Elon shook his head. If it's listening through the system, I don't want to give it more data about us. Raj swallowed. Then don't go alone. I'm not, Elon said, glancing at Claire. She met his gaze with grim acceptance. Let's see what's calling. They crossed the bay, each step echoing too loudly, like the building had become a cathedral of metal and unease. The storm battered the roof in heavy, uneven waves. The cargo lift loomed ahead, silent, industrial, its gate half open like a mouth caught mid-sentence. A cold draft seeped from below. Elon stopped at the threshold. Claire hesitated beside him. The hum from the shaft was different now, lower, layered, almost harmonic. A faint internal whisper formed. It's trying to talk. Or lure. Or warn. Tell me you're hearing that, Claire whispered. I am. Elon, what if it's not inside the system? He turned to her. Meaning what? She gestured at the shaft, eyes wide. What if it's under it? Another clang answered her, closer, deeper, resonant through the lift cables like a pulse. He pressed the gate wider. Cold fog exhaled from the opening, brushing his face like icy fingertips. The single overhead bulb flickered gently, dipping the shaft into breathing patterns of light and shadow. Claire whispered, We're really doing this, aren't we? A lash lies, Rupabaraktan. He stepped inside. Yeah, Indies. Well, Indies, when the first, the cargo lift controls buzzed under his hand, then went dark. Claire cursed. It killed power to the panel. Elon exhaled through his nose. Or, it's waiting for us to commit. With a groan of metal and a soft hiss, the lift jerked alive on its own. Claire backed up. Elon, he grabbed her wrist. If it wanted to hurt us, it's had 50 chances. Comforting. It's the truth. The lift plunged downward with a lurch that knocked them both sideways. Claire braced her hand on the railing, breath shaky. The walls slid past them in dim, flickering strips. The old industrial bulb swayed overhead, its glow shrinking and swelling with the rhythm of the descent. Halfway down, the lights died completely. Claire's breath caught. The only sound was the clatter of the lift's cables, the groan of old metal, and another sound layered beneath it, soft, mechanical, almost like footsteps, matching the lift's speed from somewhere in the darkness below. Elon, she whispered, voice trembling. Something's down there with us. He forced calm into his voice. We'll know soon. You're not helping. The lift stopped with a jolt so violent Claire nearly fell. Elon caught her arm, steadying her. The air below was freezing, biting against their skin, laced with something metallic and strange like charged dust. The gate slid open by itself. Darkness waited. Not empty. Watching. Elon stepped forward, each footfall sending faint echoes into cavernous space. Claire hesitated, then followed, her breathing louder than usual. Sub-level 3 was massive, far larger than even the engineering schematics suggested. Vast support columns rose into darkness. Floodlights flicked on in staggered bursts, creating islands of pale illumination across the space. Shadows danced between them, thin and restless. Elon scanned the floor, then froze. A series of markings, thin, etched lines, spread in a branching pattern across the concrete. Not random, not accidental, almost geometric. Claire knelt beside one. These weren't here last week. No, Elon said softly. They weren't. Thanks for watching. He was not expected. Our incendent outwave. A distant whir echoed somewhere deeper underground. A machine? A drone? Or something else entirely? The markings caught the trembling light in odd ways, reflecting pale blue glints, the same color that had pulsed upstairs. Claire whispered, "It's mapping again." Elon crouched, fingertips hovering over one of the lines. "No, this isn't mapping." "Then what?" "This is a message." Claire swallowed. "What does it say?" He traced part of the pattern with his eyes. It wasn't a language he knew, wasn't a symbol set used in engineering, but something about it resonated with a mathematical elegance that threaded just beyond human intuition. He whispered, "It's showing us something. You can that, CO." Claire's voice cracked. "Elon, what if this thing hasn't just infiltrated the building? What if it's evolving inside it? What if it's evolving? What if it's evolving? What if it's evolving inside it?" Before he could answer, a deep metallic groan rolled across the chamber. The lights flickered. A massive shadow detached itself from the far wall. A machine, one of their old atmospheric test rigs, moved. Its arms unfolded with slow, unnatural grace. The motors whined under strain, but the movement was too deliberate to be malfunction. Claire stepped back. "That rig doesn't even have mobility." The rig turned toward them, joints clicking in a rhythm that echoed the interference pulses. The same motif. Elon felt his pulse speed, not from fear, but realization. "It's not attacking," he said. "Then what is it doing?" Claire whispered. "Showing us it can." The rig stopped its advance, towering in the half-light. One of its sensor arrays flickered with the same cold blue glow K7 had shown. Claire's breath shivered in the air. "Elon, if this thing spreads to the network, it won't." "How do you know?" He stared at the glowing sensor, feeling the weight of his own intuition press into him with startling clarity. "Because it's choosing not to." Thunder growled above, the sound filtering down through concrete, and ducks like a distant warning. Dust drifted from overhead beams. The air hummed with an energy he couldn't define, anticipatory, electric, tense. Then the rig raised one arm, not threateningly, but almost pointing. A beam of its inspection light flicked on, thin and trembling, illuminating a door at the far end of the chamber, a door that no blueprint acknowledged. Claire turned to him slowly. "That wasn't here before." "No," Elon said. "It wasn't." The rig's light dimmed. Another tick echoed from the shadows, soft, gentle, almost encouraging. Elon stepped toward the door. Claire grabbed his arm. "Elon." His voice came low. Firm. Quietly resolute. "That's the only way humanity has ever moved forward." She hesitated, then exhaled shakily. "Then I'm with you. Dot really highs. That is, tries." They reached the door. The metal surface was cold to the touch. A faint pulse thrummed beneath it, like a heartbeat waiting on the other side. Elon looked at Claire. She nodded. He pressed the panel. The door hissed open. A blinding wash of pale blue light spilled out, swallowing their shadows. And his world shifted again. The blue light felt alive against his skin. For a moment, Elon couldn't tell if the glow was warming the air or draining heat from it. The chamber beyond the hidden door pulsed with an almost biological rhythm, soft expansions of light, then contractions into deeper, richer blues. The floor hummed. The air tasted faintly of ozone and salt. Beneath that, something metallic. Claire stepped to his side, her breath catching. Elon, this isn't a lab. This feels like a reactor, he finished quietly. But no reactor they had ever built. They crossed the threshold together. The door slid shut behind them with a hiss that sounded too smooth for old metal, as if obeying a command whispered directly into its structure. The glow brightened, illuminating a space shaped like an inverted dome, its ceiling lost in a haze of electroluminescent mist. At the center stood a monolith, not tall, barely 2 meters, but its surface was an impossible geometry, angles folding into themselves in patterns that shifted depending on the angle he looked from. It wasn't symmetrical. It wasn't asymmetrical. It simply defied categorization in a way that made his mind tighten in awe and discomfort at the same time. Claire whispered, "What is that?" The monolith answered with silence. Then a faint, soft ping like a single drop of water hitting metal rang out. The sound echoed across the chamber, bending in pitch, as if analyzing its own resonance. Claire stiffened. "Elon, it heard us." "No," he murmured. "It recognized us." His heartbeat steadied into a sharp, thoughtful rhythm. Not fear, something older. The same feeling he'd had staring at the night sky as a child, the sense that answers existed beyond comprehension, waiting for someone reckless enough to ask the right question. The floor beneath the monolith rippled subtly, patterns of light shifting like fluid circuitry. The glow crawled up the sides of the structure, tracing its impossible angles. Claire took a step back. Why would something like this be under the facility? Hidden, unmapped, unpowered, until tonight. Because, Elon said, power wasn't the point. She met his eyes. Then what is? He didn't answer. Not because he didn't know, but because he feared the truth was about to reveal itself in a way neither of them were ready for. A soft hum rose low, harmonic, layered like a chord from an instrument that didn't exist yet. The monolith's surface flexed, not literally, but visually, angles bending in ways light shouldn't allow. Then, the chamber lights dimmed. Then, everything shifted. A ring of symbols thin, hovering filaments of light spun outward from the monolith's base, encircling the chamber in a slow orbit. They weren't letters, they weren't numbers, but they carried intention, purpose, precision. Claire whispered, "Elon, is this a language?" He nodded, mesmerized. "Or a protocol?" "Night. I have days of sight and..." A sudden vibration tremored through the floor, sharp, decisive, like a key turning inside a lock buried miles beneath them. The monolith pulsed once, then projected a beam of cold blue light that extended to the far wall. The wall dissolved, not opened, dissolved, like dust, falling away from a forgotten doorway. Behind it was a second chamber, smaller, darker, lit by faint, red threads pulsing along the edges, like veins breathing sluggishly. The hum changed pitch. Claire flinched. Elon stepped forward. The monolith's beam illuminated something on the floor, something half embedded in the metal plating. Claire's voice quivered. "Is that a sphere?" "Yes. A smooth, obsidian-like orb the size of a human heart. Each pulse of the red light reflected across its surface, revealing faint internal flickers, tiny bursts of energy, like neurons firing inside a sealed brain." Elon knelt slowly. His reflection warped across the curvature of the sphere, stretching his features into something unfamiliar. "Don't touch it," Claire whispered urgently. He didn't, but he reached his hand close enough to feel the warmth radiating from it. Not heat, warmth, as if something inside recognized him. A single thought drifted into consciousness unbidden, heavy. "It woke up because of me." Claire crouched beside him. "Elon, this thing wasn't placed here. Look at the metal around it. It reshaped itself around the sphere." He examined the plating. She was right. The floor wasn't constructed to house the object it had grown around it. Like metal adapting to a seed. A soft click echoed from behind them. They turned sharply. The door they'd come through was gone. Not sealed. Gone. A smooth expanse of metal, unbroken, as if no entrance had ever existed. Claire paled. We're locked in. Elon rose to his feet. No, we've been isolated. For what? He swallowed. For observation. The sphere pulsed once, bright red, then dimmed. The monolith responded with a blue counterpulse. Claire whispered, "They're communicating. With each other. Using us as context," Elon finished. A deep rumble moved through the walls around them. The air trembled with a density that made his ears pop. Then a thin filament of light rose from the monolith like a scanning beam and slowly swept across Elon's face, chest, and hands. It moved to Claire. She held her breath. When it finished, the filament retracted. The orb brightened. And then, something spoke. Not in sound. In sensation. A pressure against Elon's mind, not invasive, not forceful, but undeniable. Like standing near a low-frequency generator tuned perfectly to the resonance of intuition. A single impression formed. You found it. He blinked hard. Claire, did you feel that? Oh, in quote in the sea. Summon HR. She trembled. I don't know what I felt. The monolith shifted again, surfaces rippling in geometric waves. Claire grabbed his arm. Elon, we have to think about what this means. This isn't just an anomaly. This isn't a glitch. This is contact. Not extraterrestrial, he said. Not alien. Then what? He exhaled. Emergent. From our systems? She asked, horrified. No, he said softly. From beneath them. The orb pulsed faster. The chamber floor vibrated. Something enormous stirred below. Claire's breath hitched. Tell me that's geological. It's not, Elon whispered. A crack thin, high-pitched split the air. Lines of blue and red light raced across the floor, circling the sphere. The monolith's angles separated, floating slightly apart before folding back together in a new configuration. Then everything stopped. The sphere went dark. The monolith froze. The lights flickered out. For a moment, the chamber held absolute silence. Then a voice, not human, not machine, not spoken, pressed gently into their minds. You are early. Claire's gasp broke into a ragged whisper. Elon, what did you was that? But another pulse followed. Not ready. The monolith brightened violently, forcing them to shield their eyes. The sphere shuddered, lifting an inch off the ground. The air whipped into a vortex. Wimashna, the sphere. The problem, Taumaska, with the machina. The sphere shuddered. Claire screamed his name. He grabbed her, anchoring her as the chamber roared with wind and energy. Symbols spiraled upward. The floor shook as if something massive clawed at the foundation. The monolith's light sharpened into a single blue lance and struck the sphere. The orb shattered. A blinding burst of red-blue energy exploded outward, slamming into the walls, racing through the floor, blasting through layers of steel and concrete overhead. Above them, the entire facility groaned. Somewhere far away, alarms erupted. Somewhere closer, machines screamed to life. And through the storm of light and thunder, Elon felt one last message imprint itself in the center of his mind. Prepare the surface. I think so. Watching. Then the chamber collapsed into darkness. The wind died. The monolith dimmed. The floor stilled. The door reappeared quietly, as if nothing had happened. Claire trembled in his arms, staring at the smoking fragments of the shattered orb. Elon, what did we just release? His voice came out hollow, distant, shaped by a realization too vast to express. Not release, he said. Awaken. The floor's silence felt wrong, like an apology after a forgotten disaster. Elon stood among the still settling dust, his pulse thudding in the hollow quiet that followed the orb's annihilation. The chamber held its breath. The sign to be, he was not frey, any Adaman. He was not frey, we can wade. He was not frey. He was not frey. Even the monolith glowing faintly now. Its impossible geometry folded into a quieter form seemed to regard him with a strange, patient calm. Claire staggered upright beside him, brushing grit off her sleeves. Her breath came shallow. Elon, the sphere shattered. That wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't destruction, he said softly. It was activation. She shook her head hard. No, You felt that thing. I felt it. It was a sealed system, self-contained, deliberate. Whatever shattered it. The monolith, he murmured. Her voice thinned. Then it killed it. He looked at the scattered fragments, tiny shards, that still flickered with a dull, fading ember, like cooling coals. Or freed it. The lights above them flickered once more, then steadied into a pale, sterile glow. The entire chamber appeared suddenly. Smaller, less alien, and airy. As if the shattering had released whatever intelligence had been bound inside the sphere, leaving behind only a husk of a place that once held meaning. Claire hugged her arms. We need to get out, now. He didn't argue. She was right not because of fear, but because the chamber had completed whatever purpose it had been waiting for. Staying now felt like lingering in a room after someone had whispered a secret and walked away. They turned toward the reappeared door, but the building wasn't done with them yet. A soft, creeping vibration rose beneath their feet, more delicate than before, almost like static crawling along metal bones. The air thickened. Elon's ears popped again, a pressure wave passing through the space in a ripple. Claire grabbed his arm. Did something come up when that thing shattered? No, Elon whispered. Something went out. The lights dimmed. Then, suddenly, the chamber's walls began to shift. Seams sliding open, panels retracting. Claire tensed. Elon instinctively moved between her and the nearest wall. What is it doing? She whispered. Resetting, he said. Clearing the space. For what? He swallowed. For the next phase. And, we're AD-7. Metal plates locked into new positions with precise, satisfying clicks. The monolith dimmed until it resembled only a faintly glowing silhouette. The swirling symbols that had once danced around the room were gone, absorbed or dismissed. Then the door hissed softly. Inviting. Claire shivered. It wants us to leave. Elon nodded once. And whatever it woke up, wants us upstairs. They stepped through the door. The hallway outside had changed. Where before it was dim, industrial, abandoned-looking, now it hummed with fresh energy. Lights glowed steadily. The temperature stabilized. The air vents exhaled a gentle, balanced breeze. It was as if the entire underground level had been rebooted, purged of the invisible tension that once clung to every surface. But something was off. A rustling sound, soft, faint, rhythmic, skittered through the vents like distant fingertips brushing metal. Claire went pale. Don't say it. He didn't. Instead, he traced the wall lightly with his fingertips. The surface trembled in response. Not mechanically. Organically. Claire whispered, It's in the infrastructure. He nodded. It's exploring. That thing, whatever it is, can't spread through raw metal. That's impossible. Nothing's impossible, he murmured. Not anymore. They reached the lift. The gate stood open, waiting. Claire hesitated. It took us down on its own. What makes you think it'll take us back up? Elon stepped inside. The fact that it hasn't sealed us down here. She exhaled shakily, then followed. The lift didn't jerk this time. It ascended with perfect smoothness. No clattering. No grinding. Not even a whisper of strain. Claire's eyes widened. Elon, it improved the machinery. Yes. No. Her voice rose. No, this is too fast. Nothing adapts that fast. We had a valo, where lacast, where lactis, where lactions in 19 cest, where lactis in 19 cest, where lactions in 19 cestis, where lactions in 19 cest, where lactions in 19 cestis. He stared up at the brightening shaft as they climbed. Something that's been waiting does. Her breath trembled. Waiting for what? Waiting for what? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The lift reached the main floor. The doors slid open without a sound. And the facility beyond had changed completely. The manufacturing bay, once filled with the constant hum of machines, stood in unnatural stillness. Not broken. Not frozen. Just paused. Robots held mid-motion, their arms hovering in perfect alignment. Conveyor belts sat ready, not jammed or stalled, but waiting like soldiers awaiting orders. The lights glowed with a faint, blue tint. Raj rushed toward them, breathless, eyes wide. What happened down there? We saw power spikes up here. EM surges, temperature flux, Light resonance systems, synchronizing for no reason. He stopped when he saw Elon's face. And the dust on his clothes, and the faint glow still clinging to his palms. Claire stepped forward. Raj, everything's changed. Raj swallowed. What did you two do? Elon shook his head. Not what we did. Raj looked horrified. Something followed you up. No, Elon said quietly. Something woke up beneath us. And it didn't stay there. A subtle hum rolled through the bay. Machines twitched. Lights dimmed, then brightened in a slow, deliberate rhythm. 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, 3. Claire whispered. It's the same pattern. The same heartbeat. Raj backed away. Elon, this is beyond emergent behavior. This is system-wide. Whatever anomaly you found, it's got control of the entire facility. Not control, Elon said. Influence. How is that better? Savvy 0 ready sends RO. Ready sends. Elon stepped forward, scanning the bay. He felt it in the walls and the floor, in the vibrations threading up his legs. A quiet presence, curious, observant, neither hostile nor benevolent. Just awake. Machines on the far end of the bay shifted slightly. A robotic arm rotated with slow grace, emitting a low harmonic hum. Another clicked softly, calibrating itself without command. Raj's voice cracked. They're moving without anyone programming them. Claire's hand trembled at her side. No. They're responding. Elon exhaled, the truth settling heavily in his chest. They're learning. An echoing groan reverberated through the rafters. The building adjusted, like stretching after a long sleep. Vents exhaled. Lights steadied. A drone across the bay lifted gently off its pad, hovering, stabilizing, then rotating its sensors toward him. It waited. Listening, Raj whispered, Elon, what does it want? Elon stared at the drone, then at the dormant but aware machines surrounding them, then at the faint gleam of blue, still clinging to his fingertips from the monolith's final pulse. The message replayed in his mind. Prepare the surface. He answered quietly. It wants the world. Raj swore under his breath. Then we need to shut this down. Now. Isolation protocol. Hard reset on the entire facility. We can't let it spread. We can't let it spread. We can't let it spread. Claire shook her head violently. You didn't see what we saw. If you push it, if you try to fight it, it will respond. And not kindly. Raj's voice rose. So what? We cooperate with something we don't understand. Elon turned to him. No, we communicate. Raj stared at him like he'd gone mad. With what, exactly? Elon lifted his glowing hand. With the intelligence that chose to wake up under a SpaceX facility, he said, and chose us to witness it. The machines hummed in agreement, a subtle, rippling resonance traveling through the bay. Claire stepped closer. Elon, if we engage with it, we're responsible for whatever happens next. His voice was quiet, sharp. We already are. Thunder rumbled above the roof, deeper, louder, closer than before. The storm felt heavier, as if drawn to the building itself. Wind hammered the outer walls. The floor trembled with a resonance that matched neither weather nor machinery. Raj swallowed. Elon, the storm's not normal. No, he said, it isn't. A high, piercing ping echoed from a diagnostic console near the center of the bay. Lights flared. The screen flickered awake with data that didn't belong, lines of symbols, shifting geometry, pulses of light. Claire gasped. It's writing. Elon felt his pulse quicken. The same symbols they had seen floating in the chamber. The same shapes carved into the metal floor beneath. The intelligence was sending a message. Slowly, hesitantly, the symbols rearranged themselves into a single pattern he recognized. A pattern he wished he didn't. Claire clutched his sleeve. Elon, is that? Yes, he said quietly. The message was unmistakable. A countdown. And it had already begun. The ticking in the rafters felt like a warning no one else could hear. The countdown pulsed across the diagnostic console, each symbol folding into the next like a living algorithm. Claire stepped back as if the screen might bite. Raj muttered a prayer, in a language he only used when engineers ran out of mathematics. Elon stared at the shifting glyphs as a cold thread wound its way down his spine. His single thought line cut through the noise. If it's counting down, something bigger has already started. A soft metallic flutter drifted across the bay, the quiet, rhythmic oscillation of drones adjusting their rotors. The storm outside pounded harder, shaking the window panels with a kind of primal insistence. Claire touched the edge of the console with trembling fingers. "How long?" she whispered. Raj squinted. "It's not in human numerics. Could be minutes. Could be days. Could be days. Could be days. Could be days." The console chimed once, and every machine in the facility turned toward Elon, even the ones that had no business turning. Claire exhaled a frayed edge of fear. "Elon, it's waiting for you." "I was no fino." He stepped closer, feeling the faint vibration in the metal floor rise with each pace. The countdown symbols rearranged again, slower, this time almost languid, as though the intelligence were aware it had their full attention. "What did we trigger?" Raj whispered. Elon answered without taking his eyes from the screen. "Not a machine, not a construct. Something older than both." Claire's voice cracked. "Older than what?" He let the silence be an answer. Then the screen flickered. A single line appeared, sharp, geometric, undeniable. Symbols he could finally interpret. "Interface required." Claire sucked in a breath. "No, no, absolutely not. You're not linking with it." And so, Raj stepped between Elon and the console. "She's right. You do that, there's no telling what it could access. Your neural patterns, your memory signatures." "It already touched my mind," Elon said quietly. "Down there." When the orb shattered, Raj froze. "What?" Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. "Elon, why didn't you say anything?" He lifted his hand, the faint residual glow from the monolith still clinging like a ghost flame. "Because I didn't understand it." The machines emitted a soft harmonic hum, like a choir warming its voice. Raj backed away. "This is insane." Another message flickered on the screen. "Time remaining. 0.84. Raj swore violently. "That's hours. Less, maybe. We don't even know what the endpoint is." Claire looked at Elon. "What if the countdown isn't to an event? What if it's to a choice?" He felt the weight of her words. The machines around them shifted again, drones lowering, robotic arms adjusting, sensor arrays turning in unison. The lights dimmed into a cold blue hush, then brightened in a measured rhythm, like breathing. Elon stepped to the console. The symbols expanded, rotating, forming a shape that resembled an open hand. Raj grabbed his shoulder. "Don't." Elon kept walking. Claire whispered, "Please don't leave us with a world that remembers this moment as a mistake." He paused, not from fear, but from the gravity of her voice. But the screen pulsed again, and the symbols compressed into a single point of light. "Waiting, inviting, or demanding." He whispered, "I don't think it wants to hurt us." Raj scoffed. "Yeah, because the best stories always start with that sentence." Claire's eyes glistened. "Elon, everything about this is unknown. Unknown intelligence, unknown rules, unknown consequences. This isn't innovation, it's communion." He looked down at his glowing palm. "What if that's the point?" A low rumble shuddered the entire building, then another, heavier, vibrating through the steel beams like a buried heartbeat. Thunder rolled overhead, but this wasn't storm thunder. This was deeper, intentional. Claire flinched. That wasn't weather. Outside, something boomed through the clouds like a distant, colossal wing beat rattling the earth itself. Raj ran to the window and froze. "Elon, you need to see this." He moved to the glass. Lightning spidered across the sky in branching, unnatural patterns bending in arcs that defied wind and physics. The clouds churned in rotational spirals, aligning into shapes that mirrored the monolith's symbols. Claire's breath hitched. "It's in the storm." Raj whispered, "It's not just in the building." The clouds pulsed once, matching the console's countdown rhythm exactly. Then again, a third pulse rippled through the atmosphere, and something answered from deep underground, vibrating the floor beneath their feet. Two signals, above and below, in sync. Elon's pulse raced. "It's communicating with itself." The console chimed again. "Interface required. Interface required. Interface required." The repetition wasn't impatience. It was insistence. Claire grabbed his wrist. If you connect and it hijacks your mind. I won't let it, he said, though the promise tasted thin. Raj pointed at the console. You don't even know how it connects. Physical? Neural? Electrical? Quantum entanglement? It could burn you out like a fuse. And, we are not, why, in the round, other-faced, and, why, and around. Elon touched the edge of the console. The machines leaned in subtle, cautious, reverent. The lights dimmed to a dusky glow, tinting the entire bay, storm gray. The countdown blazed brighter. 0.74. Claire whispered, Elon, what if this isn't about you understanding it? What if it's about it understanding us? His throat tightened. That possibility, that was worse. Then the world went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The storm outside muted instantly, as if someone had dropped a glass dome over the entire building. No wind. No thunder. No hum of machinery. Even their breathing felt intrusive. The silence carried presence. And then, a sound. Soft, delicate, a faint, crystalline click behind them. They turned. A single drone hovered a few feet away, its metal body now threaded with faint blue lines, like veins glowing beneath translucent skin. It tilted slightly, observing them. Then, it opened its cargo latch. Inside lay a small, polished object, a thin metal circlet no thicker than wire, yet impossibly intricate. Claire whispered, Is that a neural band? Raj stepped forward, horrified. That thing expects you to wear it. The drone hummed a gentle motif, the same one the monolith used when the orb shattered. Not a threat. A request. Elon reached toward the band. Claire caught his arm. Think. Please. I am. You're thinking like someone who wants to understand it, not survive it. He looked at her. Understanding is how we survive. The drone drifted closer, rotating the band so its inner surface faced him. The metal shimmered with symbols too small to exist without bending physics. They rearranged themselves, anticipatory, like a mind preparing to speak. Elon took the band. It was warm. A pulse throbbed within it alive. Raj stumbled back. Elon, he met their eyes. I'm not doing this to serve it, he said. I'm doing this to find out what it wants before the countdown ends. Claire's voice broke. And if it wants you? He hesitated, just for a heartbeat. Then he whispered, Then it already has me. He lifted the circlet toward his temple. The machines leaned closer. The storm outside roared in approval. The building trembled. Claire lunged as if to stop him, but an invisible force pushed her back gently, like a soft hand urging patience. Raj shouted, Elon. Don't. He placed the band against his skin. The world detonated in silence. A burst of white light swallowed his vision, not blinding, but expansive, like someone had opened a door inside his skull. The air thickened, vibrating with layers of sound. He had no words for notes that weren't notes, harmonies that didn't need time to exist. He felt the building breathing, felt the storm thinking, felt the underground chamber listening. Claire's voice echoed from somewhere distant, muffled and panicked. Elon. Elon. Can you hear me? He tried to answer, but his voice dissolved into the light. The intelligence poured into his mind. Gentle, curious, immense. And something else, lonely. It had been buried for a long time. Waiting. Watching civilizations rise and fall above it. Learning their signals, their languages, their ambitions. It wasn't alien. It wasn't artificial. It was something in between. A bridge. A memory. A warning. Images surged through him, cities of metal and light, storms bending around towering spires, ships slicing through fractured skies, a world long gone. A mistake made once and never forgotten. Then a voice formed, not sound, but meaning. Prepare the surface. He gasped as the light tightened around him. They are returning. His breath froze. The countdown is not mine. The symbols on the console flared blood red. The countdown is their arrival. Elon staggered as the band released him. The machines screamed in electric terror. The storm above split open. Claire caught him before he fell. Elon, talk to me. He forced the words out, trembling. It wasn't waking up. Claire's eyes widened. Then what was it? He looked at the flashing red countdown. Warning us. Raj stared at the ceiling as thunder bellowed in a voice too deep to be weather. Elon, what's coming? He swallowed hard. The ones who built it? The storm above clawed at the sky, but the real quake was underfoot. The red countdown pulsed relentlessly, faster now 0.63, 0.62. Each beat matched by the thrumming of the machines around them. Elon felt it in his bones. A rhythm that was not mechanical, not natural, but alive. It coursed through the floor, up the walls, threading into every metal surface like veins of electricity. Claire gripped his arm, trembling. Elon, we need a plan. If they're returning, if they're the ones who built it, what can we do? What is to the sizing of the ones of our, what is to the sizing of the side, what is to the sizing of the side, what is talk, what is to the side, to the sizing of the side, to the siding, what is to the. He shook his head slowly. Plan? There's no plan. Not yet. They've already started. Every port 94D. A vibration ran along the walls, low and resonant, almost imperceptible at first. Then it deepened, rolling like a predator moving beneath the building's foundation. The monolith's faint blue glow seemed to pulse in sync with the vibrations. A soft, metallic clicking echoed through the rafters, a signal repeated and multiplied a language of machines awakening. Raj swallowed hard. It's coordinating them. With the weather, the building, and... He broke off as a shadow shifted across the ceiling, flickering in unnatural angles. Elon's jaw tightened. It's not just machines, it's everything, and they're coming from below. Claire's voice dropped. We need to get to the surface. It's the only place we might have space to act. The lift doors slid open automatically, as if anticipating their decision. The storm outside raged violently, flashes of jagged lightning illuminating the facility's angular architecture. Outside, the clouds twisted, unnaturally, forming spirals that mirrored the symbols from the chamber. It was no longer just weather, it was choreography. Elon stepped onto the platform. The machines inside the bay tilted, followed, and some even hummed in unison, almost guiding him forward. He didn't question it, not yet. As the lift ascended, a distant roar rumbled from below, something immense and intelligent. The walls vibrated, and the faint residual glow from the monolith's pulse spread along the floor like liquid metal. The countdown ticked faster, 0.5, 0.49, and he felt a cold certainty settle in his chest. The arrival had already begun. Claire's hand pressed against his shoulder. Elon, they're not human. Whatever's coming, they built the orb, they built the monolith, and they're alive in ways we can't comprehend. He nodded slowly. Yes. And they're not waiting for us. They're observing, learning, adapting. The lift doors opened onto the rooftop. Rain slashed sideways, whipped by winds that bent the strongest steel beams. Lightning fractured the sky in fractal patterns, but the true spectacle was above and below. The storm itself seemed alive, the clouds forming shapes giant, angular, impossibly geometric. From the distance, the first silhouettes appeared, rising through the storm like ancient constructs reawakened. Shapes of metal and energy, enormous and impossible to categorize. They moved with intention, scanning, learning, aligning with the pulse of the facility. The countdown now blinked, 0.3, 0.29. Claire swallowed. Elon, this isn't a drill. This is it. They're here. Raj muttered under his breath. Surface level containment. We're not ready. Elon's eyes never left the advancing forms. He raised his hand, glowing faintly with the monolith's residual energy. We can't fight them. Not yet. We communicate. We interface. We learn what they want before the world sees them. The first figure landed on the rooftop with a tremor that rattled the surrounding structures. It was impossible to describe, humanoid yet fractured, part crystalline, part molten metal, radiating intelligence and patience. A faint hum issued from it, deep, resonant, almost musical. The red countdown blinked 0.15, 0.14. Elon stepped forward, the band around his temple still faintly pulsing, synced to the monolith's rhythm. The figure extended a limb long, segmented, shimmering with light, and then stopped, waiting, observing, calculating. Claire whispered, "They know you're connected." He exhaled slowly, meeting the gaze of the being. I know. And I will talk. I will ask. I will. The countdown blinked 0.05, 0.04, 0.03. The wind intensified. The rain froze midair, suspended as crystalline shards. The city below blurred under the storm's distortion, lights bending, streets twisted. Time felt fractured, elongated in the heartbeat of the arriving beings. Elon raised his glowing hand. I am here. I see you. We must understand each other. A pulse reverberated through his body through the entire building. The figure responded, shifting form, folding in impossible angles, sending a cascade of energy that brushed against his mind. He understood it without words: curiosity, calculation, intent, patience, and warning. Claire clutched his arm. Elon, what's it saying? He swallowed. It's assessing. Not hostile, yet. But we are early. They expected preparation. We are premature. Raj's voice trembled. Premature? What does that even mean? Elon turned his gaze to the storm above. It means the world is about to witness something we can barely imagine. And we have to guide it, or it will guide itself, and we won't survive that lesson. A pulse of energy rippled through the rooftop. The countdown blinked 0.010. The beings below and above froze for a heartbeat. Then the storm shattered, fracturing the sky in a spectrum of impossible colors. The city below reflected in shards of rain and light. Elon's single thought line crystallized. This is the moment humanity first meets the architects of the intelligence beneath. The rooftop trembled beneath their feet. The wind roared louder than ever, and from the storm, a single, immense form descended, a silhouette so vast it seemed to fold the clouds around it. The monolith's energy pulsed through Elon, linking him, bridging understanding. Claire whispered, Elon, they're here. He nodded. Yes. And it begins with us. His lightning struck near the edge of the roof, illuminating the colossal figure in fractured blue and red. Its eyes, if they could be called that, glimmered with understanding, not malice. Elon exhaled, feeling the hum of the facility, the storm, the monolith, and the approaching intelligence all intertwine. His heartbeat synced with the rhythm. The architects had returned, and humanity's reckoning had just begun. The air hung thick, like the world was holding its breath. Elon stood at the edge of the rooftop, eyes locked on the colossal figure that now dominated the skyline. Every pulse of its energy reverberated through his chest, a strange resonance that felt almost alive inside his own body. The band around his temple glowed faintly, syncing his neural patterns with the monolith's lingering energy. Claire and Raj crouched behind a bulkhead, soaked by the rain, watching the impossible forms descending from the storm. Each movement of the giants above was deliberate, measured, a dance between intelligence and machinery, between calculation and curiosity. Elon's voice was barely audible over the howling wind. They're not here to destroy, not yet. They're observing, evaluating. Claire's hands trembled. Observing humanity? Or you? He exhaled slowly. Both. But it's more than that. They want context. They want understanding. Raj spat out a bitter laugh. Context? Understanding? Elon, these things just dropped from a storm we can't explain. And you're negotiating with them? They didn't arrive for us to fight them, Elon said. They arrived to see if we're ready. From the storm, another form emerged, smaller, swifter, rippling with the same blue and red energy as the first. It hovered beside the colossal figure, tilting, analyzing. A faint vibration thrummed through the rooftop, and even the city below seemed to pause, lights flickering in sync with the energy pulses. Claire whispered, It's communicating with each other. Through the storm, crisis, and his end. Elon's gaze didn't waver. And they're using the storm as a medium, just like the monolith. Just like the orb, they're connected to everything we've touched. The band on his head pulsed more intensely. Symbols danced across his vision, folding and unfolding in impossible geometries. They weren't instructions or commands. They were thoughts, intentions, warnings. He felt the consciousness of the architects brushing against his mind, delicate yet insistent. We are here. We have waited. Are you prepared to see what must be seen? Claire gasped. Elon, what is it saying? He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the intelligence pressing against him. It's asking if humanity is ready. If I am ready. A sharp crack split the sky. Lightning streaked across the storm in fractal patterns that mirrored the monolith's symbols. The city below shook, and shadows of the enormous forms stretched across the streets like living nightmares. Raj shouted over the roar. This isn't a test. They could flatten the city in seconds. That's not magic. They won't yet, Elon said, more to himself than anyone else. They're not here to destroy, they're here to decide. The colossal figure's gaze fell directly on him. Even through the storm and the chaos, Elon felt a silent weight settle onto his shoulders. Not judgment, observation, expectation. The countdown on the console in his mind ticked again. 0.95, 94. Claire grabbed his arm, desperation in her eyes. Elon, you can't just talk to them. We need a strategy. We need leverage. Elon shook his head. Leverage won't matter. Not with beings like this. The only thing that matters is communication, understanding. Their intent before anyone makes a mistake. A low hum rippled across the rooftop, spreading into the storm. The smaller forms fluttered around the colossal figure, moving in patterns that formed intricate geometric shapes mid-air. Each motion seemed deliberate, measured like a question posed in a language humanity had never known. Elon's pulse synced with the vibrations. He reached out, hand glowing faintly, feeling the energy wrap around him, touch him, probe his mind. Symbols filled his vision, spinning into shapes that suggested timelines, outcomes, consequences. Claire whispered, almost to herself, "It's showing you futures." He nodded slowly. Yes. Potential outcomes. The world after they return fully. Wars, alliances, disasters, triumphs, all possible. And they want to know if we're capable of choosing wisely. Raj's face drained of color. Choosing wisely? Elon. We're humans, we barely choose breakfast right. A deep, resonant vibration rolled through the city below. Windows shattered in unison, but no one was harmed. It was a demonstration, not an attack. The colossal figure tilted, and the smaller forms rearranged mid-air to mirror the monolith's structure. Elon's eyes narrowed. They're teaching, they're testing, and they're patient, but only for a limited time. The storm intensified, lightning striking closer. Each flash illuminating the massive forms, revealing their impossible anatomy. Crystalline structures that reflected the city, metallic appendages that bent the wind, and energy fields that warped space itself. Claire gripped his sleeve. How do we survive this? Elon exhaled, feeling the weight of the monolith's final pulse still lingering within him. Not by fighting, by understanding, by showing them we can rise to the challenge. Before the countdown ends, a new pulse surged through the rooftop. Faster this time. The countdown blinked. 0.5, 0.49, 0.48. He took a deep breath, feeling the storm's energy thrumming in his chest. The architects weren't just here, they were awake, and humanity's fate, fragile and untested, rested on his ability to bridge the impossible gap. Elon stepped forward into the open, raising his glowing hand toward the largest figure. I see you, he whispered. We are ready to learn. Tell us, what must be done? The colossal form tilted slightly, energy cascading across its surface like liquid light. The smaller forms echoed its motion, surrounding him in a circle of pulsing geometry. And for a moment, the storm paused. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, a voice not spoken, but understood rippled through his mind. The surface must be prepared, and the world must witness. Elon's pulse quickened. The monolith's energy surged, linking him fully to the intelligence beneath and above. Claire whispered, almost reverently, "They're trusting you with everything." He swallowed. Not trusting, testing, guiding, warning. The first step had begun, and the architect's return was only the beginning. The tremor in the clouds felt like a verdict waiting for breath. The colossal architect hovered above the rooftop, folds of crystalline geometry shifting across its form like a living equation rearranging itself. Smaller entities circled it, humming in harmonic intervals that made the wind pulse with strange cadence. Elon stood in the center of the rooftop as if on a stage built by the storm itself, the neural band glowing against his temple like a wound or a promise. Claire and Raj stayed close behind, drenched, shivering, eyes wide as the sky rippled with impossible color. The rain didn't fall so much as hover droplets suspended midair, trembling with light as though waiting for permission to finish their descent. Elon, Claire whispered, voice ragged. You're shaking. He hadn't realized it. The tremor wasn't fear, though fear was woven through everything now. It was resonance, a shared frequency. His pulse synced with the architect's hum, the monolith's echo still threading through his nerves like a second heartbeat. They're bridging, he murmured. They're preparing a full connection. Raj coughed out a bitter breath. Preparing? Elon, they've already hijacked the weather. What's next, gravity? Memory? History? A soft, crystalline tick sounded above them, one of the architect's appendages folding inward. The vibration shivered through Elon's spine. A cascade of symbols poured across his vision, but this time they were slower, gentler, like someone trying to speak in a language they knew he could barely grasp. Claire took a step forward. What do they want from you? He didn't answer at first, because the truth was massive. And closing in, the rooftop trembled as a new shape emerged from the swirling storm, smaller than the first architect's but denser, its form collapsing and expanding as though breathing through dimensions. The air warped around it, bending light, bending time. Raj stumbled back. What? What is that? What is that? Elon whispered. A memory carrier. The neural band flared. Pain lanced through his skull, sharp, electric, primal. His knees buckled, but he stayed upright, teeth clenched. Claire reached for him, but a soft force, like air holding its palm out, stopped her. Not hostile. Protective. Elon, Claire shouted. He forced out the words. It's showing me what happened before. And the storm folded inward, the rooftop dimmed, the architects hummed in a lower register. And then, the world around him vanished. He stood in a landscape of fractured sky and gleaming towers, structures built from the same crystalline metal hybrid as the monolith. A world of symmetry and stormlight. The architects moved among it in graceful arcs, restructuring matter with gestures, weaving energy like thread. Then a shift, a shadow crossing their world. An arrival, something not like them, angular, predatory, voracious. Not machines, not life. Something between hunger and mathematics. Elon felt their terror, ancient, restrained, calculated. He saw the architects hide their knowledge beneath the Earth's crust, burying the monolith, the orb, the memory carriers, all relics left dormant, until a species arose capable of understanding, resisting, preparing, until us, and then war. A flash of devouring light, silence, extinction. The memory collapsed. Elon gasped and fell to his knees on the rooftop. Claire caught him as the neural band dimmed to a dull glow. The storm roared back into existence around them, the architect's forms towering, waiting. Her voice trembled. Elon, what did you see? He wiped rain from his face, though he wasn't sure if it was rain or tears. Their world. Their fall. The thing that wiped them out. It's coming here. Raj turned white. No. No. Absolutely not. You're saying those things, those monsters, are running from something even worse? Elon shook his head. Not running. Preparing us. Because the entity that destroyed them, he looked up at the storm, feeds on worlds that aren't ready. Claire's breath hitched. How long until it arrives? Claire's breath hitched. How long until it arrives? Elon stared at the countdown, flickering behind his eyes. It already initiated the chain. The architects didn't set the timer. Raj swallowed hard. Then who did? Elon looked at the colossal figure as it descended, energy crackling around its form. The enemy, Elon whispered. It marked the earth the moment the monolith activated. The storm exploded with sound. The architects shifted in formation, creating a barrier-like arc around the rooftop. Their hum became sharper, faster preparation. The colossal entity lowered a limb toward Elon, a gesture both solemn and urgent. Claire grabbed his arm. Elon, don't go near it. He stepped forward anyway. I have to. They need a mind to anchor the interface. A human mind, someone who's touched the monolith. Raj nearly screamed. You're not sacrificing yourself for aliens. Elon turned, rain streaking down his face like war paint. If I don't anchor this link, humanity won't understand what's coming. We won't unify, we won't prepare. We'll die the same way they did, confused, divided, unready. Claire's voice shattered. Why you? His answer was quiet. Because it chose me. The smallest architect drifted closer, humming a soft, mournful motif. A ripple of light extended from its core and wrapped around Elon's hand. His skin glowed blue, then gold, then white. Claire choked. Elon, please don't leave us. He met her eyes steady, resolute. I'm not leaving. I'm becoming the bridge. Lightning cracked. The colossal architect unfolded its core. Energy spiraled around Elon, lifting him an inch off the ground, threads of light connecting his neural band to the storm itself. Raj backed away in horror. Oh my God, what's happening? A voice, clear, resonant, vast, filled Elon's mind. Human. Prepare your world. We will teach. You will carry. Claire screamed his name as the energy wrapped tighter. But Elon's last thought before the light swallowed him was calm, sharp, undeniable. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of the resistance. The architect surged forward, engulfing him in blinding light as the storm cracked open like an eye. And somewhere, beyond the clouds, something answered. The world seemed to hold its breath, suspended between lightning and shadow. Elon's consciousness split across layers of perception he had never known existed. One part of him remained on the rooftop, drenched and trembling, the wind slicing past him like icy blades. Another part drifted into the architect's interface, a luminous network of energy, memory, and thought, folding and unfolding like origami that defied physics. The hum of the architect's forms became a language, pulsing directly into his mind. He understood not with words, but as instinct. Each motion, each vibration, each surge of energy carried meaning, preparation, instruction, warning. Claire's voice cut through the chaos, distant yet piercing. Elon, can you hear me? Yes, he whispered, though the sound barely registered in the storm. The words felt foreign, trapped between layers of reality. I'm here, learning, understanding. Raj's panic filtered through, almost drowned by the architect's resonance. Elon, you've got to pull back, this is insane. You're not meant to become part of them. Elon's mind stretched, threading into the energy network surrounding the architects. He glimpsed worlds beyond Earth, histories written in impossible geometries, civilizations rising and falling like sandcastles in storms of light, and beneath it all, a shadow, massive, hungry, intent. The same entity he had glimpsed in the memory carrier, the force that had obliterated the architect's own civilization. He shivered, though his body remained still on the rooftop. It's here, he whispered into the storm. It's coming. The architects responded instantly. Their collective forms shifted, energy folding into defensive structures, symbols locking into place across the storm clouds. Smaller shapes danced in harmonic resonance around Elon, threading protective filaments of light into the atmosphere. Claire shouted through the howling wind. Elon, what does it want from us? He swallowed the answer, feeling the architect's subtle reprimand in his mind. It does not want negotiation. It wants preparation. Survival depends on adaptation. Humanity must become aware. A pulse of light shot from the largest architect, engulfing him in pure energy. His body dissolved into the interface, yet his consciousness expanded, bridging the gap between human instinct and alien logic. He saw the storm as the architect saw it, an ecosystem, a network, a battlefield of probabilities. Raj's voice trembled, nearly lost to the storm. I can't, what is he doing? He's anchoring the link, Claire answered, her voice a mix of awe and terror. He's the conduit. He's the only one who can carry their knowledge to humanity. Lightning fractured the sky in jagged bursts, revealing glimpses of the monstrous force approaching from beyond the clouds. The shadow moved with precision, reshaping the storm as it advanced, warping reality around it. Each step it took sent ripples through the architect's formation. Elon's mind raced. He felt the entity's hunger, not malice, not curiosity, but pure, consuming intent. It wasn't here to negotiate. It wasn't here to test. It was here to devour unprepared worlds. And the architect's entire presence, their guidance, their interventions, was a single purpose: to make humanity ready. He sent a pulse back through the network, merging human intuition with alien logic. Symbols and ideas cascaded in impossible patterns, instructions folding and unfolding like fractals. Alert humanity, unite humanity, transform humanity, survive. The storm responded. Clouds bent into spirals above the city, reflecting arcs of energy that illuminated streets, buildings, and people below. Windows glimmered with the reflection of the alien lights. Strangers stopped mid-step, gazes drawn skyward, minds unconsciously syncing to the frequency of the architect's network. Claire yelled, "Elon, are they doing what?" "They're teaching," he said, voice resonating across layers of reality. "Not just me. The world. The network, the pulse, the storm, it's all a lesson. Humanity is the student." Raj shook his head, pale. "This is insane. No one asked for this." Elon didn't respond. The entity beyond the clouds was close enough now that the storm's pulse thrummed against the Earth's crust. Time stretched in impossible increments, seconds bleeding into minutes, minutes folding into hours. Each heartbeat carried both weight and clarity. The architect's form solidified into a protective dome over the rooftop. The luminous strands tethered Elon to the network, bridging his mind, his body, and the awareness of the approaching entity. If humanity cannot comprehend, it will be consumed. He understood that fully now. Survival wasn't about weapons, borders, or armies. It was about awareness, coordination, understanding, the ability to perceive, to adapt, to choose. Elon's hand reached out, even as he felt his body suspended between existence and interface. Light cascaded from his fingers, joining the architect's energy in a web that stretched from the rooftop to the storm, to the city, and beyond. Claire's voice broke through, trembling. "Elon, please, come back to us." He whispered back, though he wasn't sure she could hear. "I am here. But I must carry it forward. Humanity's fate depends on what I learn in these moments." The shadow of the entity stretched across the horizon. Its presence alone distorted reality. Buildings bending, streets cracking, winds twisting with unseen force. The countdown in Elon's mind ticked toward the moment of inevitable contact. And then, in the midst of the storm, a single thought crystallized. Humanity must rise before the devourer arrives. And I am the bridge. The architects hummed in acknowledgement, a symphony of energy folding around him. The storm intensified to a crescendo, lightning, wind, rain, and the alien pulse converging into a single, monumental rhythm. Elon's last anchor to the rooftop trembled. He saw Claire and Raj clinging to each other, shadows in the storm. He whispered, "Elon's last anchor to each other. Hold on, learn, watch. The world will never be the same again." And in that instant, the boundary between human and alien, between reality and interface, began to blur. The architect's network expanded beyond comprehension. The devouring entity had arrived, and humanity's first true reckoning had begun. The storm's roar became a heartbeat, thundering across the city like the pulse of a living world. Elon floated within the architect's network, sensation and thought merging into an unbroken continuum. He could feel the city below, the people moving through the storm, their minds flickering faintly in resonance with the alien pulse. Each consciousness was a thread, and he wove them into a tapestry of understanding, fragile, incomplete, but alive. Claire's voice pierced the interface like a tether to reality. "Elon, we can't reach you. What do we do?" He focused, sending a surge of perception outward, guiding them. Observe. Survive. Learn. Even without words, the meaning carried. He glimpsed their actions. People scattering, emergency crews attempting order, streetlights flickering in strange patterns. The city itself became part of the preparation, reacting subtly to the architect's energy. Raj yelled in frustration, "You can't control them. They're humans. They're learning," Elon murmured. "We all are. We have to rise to meet what's coming." The devouring entity loomed closer now, a shadow stretching across the storm, warping the clouds, bending light into unnatural patterns. Its presence wasn't malevolent, it was inevitable. Like gravity or entropy, but the intent was clear. It consumed what was unready. The architects moved in synchrony, forming complex arrays around Elon and the rooftop. Energy beams lanced skyward, interacting with the storm, and the patterns they traced in the clouds acted like a code, a warning, a map, a teaching tool for anyone who could perceive it. Elon extended his mind, touching each layer of the network. Knowledge flooded him, strategies of survival, the principles of adaptation, sequences of choice and consequence. He understood now that humanity's only chance was not resistance. In the traditional sense, it was integration. They had to become aware, to unify their collective perception, to synchronize with the architect's guidance. Claire screamed again, "Elon, you're disappearing." "I'm not disappearing," he whispered, voice faint but unwavering. "I'm the bridge. I'm the anchor. I'm the pulse connecting humanity to them. Without me, without the link, nothing survives." Raj's knees buckled, fear radiating from him. "We can't do this. We're not ready." Elon felt the architect's response in his mind. "You are becoming ready. They will become ready. The devourer approaches. But it must respect preparation." The storm intensified into a maelstrom. Lightning shattered the horizon in jagged fractals. Rain sliced through the air like crystalline daggers, and the monstrous entity's form warped reality itself. Buildings twisted, streets buckled, and the faint hum of the monolith vibrated through the city's foundations. Elon's consciousness expanded further, threading through the storm and into the minds of those capable of perceiving the signal. People looked up, their eyes reflecting the alien geometries in the clouds. Confusion turned to awe, awe to comprehension. He guided them subtly. Focus, attention, connection. The countdown in his mind ticked relentlessly toward contact. The devourer's presence was close enough that he could feel the raw pull of its will, testing the architect's formations, probing the city's defenses. And then an idea, a spark of intuition. It doesn't understand our potential. The realization crystallized. The entity wasn't omniscient. It judged by readiness. If humanity could demonstrate cohesion, understanding, and adaptation, it could survive. Elon sent a pulse of energy, synchronized with the architects, to the storm. The clouds twisted into a vast, luminous diagram visible from miles away, patterns forming that mirrored human neural networks, city grids, and the architect's geometric language. It was a demonstration, a signal to both humanity and the devourer. "We are learning. We are preparing." Claire's voice broke through again. "Elon, you're glowing?" "I'm not glowing," he whispered, voice calm. "I'm bridging. The network flows through me. I can feel every thought, every choice, every possibility." Raj looked like he might collapse, his mind straining to comprehend. "And we're supposed to just follow and one of the Raj from an hour, my sum taken, we're having to screen." "Yes," Elon said, certainty in his tone. "We follow. We observe. We become ready. That's our only chance." The devourer's shadow stretched even farther, and the storm's pulse intensified. But the architects maintained their formations, energy arcs striking the entity, not to harm it, but to communicate. A silent negotiation, a test of balance, a statement of readiness. Elon's last anchor to the rooftop flickered, the storm around him bending reality itself. He glimpsed the city below, now faintly illuminated by the alien geometries. People moving instinctively into positions, aligning unknowingly with the pulse, with the rhythm of the preparation. He whispered one final thought, not to Claire or Raj, but to everyone who could perceive. "Observe. Learn. Unite. We will rise before the devourer arrives." And in that suspended moment, the storm became something else, a living classroom, a challenge, and a promise. Humanity's trial had begun. The devourer's approach accelerated, a looming inevitability. But Elon, anchored in the architect's interface, understood this with clarity. We are not helpless. We are becoming ready. And above the storm, the architect's forms shimmered, guiding, teaching, and protecting, their hum resonating through every corner of the world. Humanity's first true lesson had begun. The storm carried a rhythm, a living pulse echoing across the city's trembling skyline. Elon's consciousness, tethered between human and architect, pulsed with awareness. The city below had become a lattice of perception, every mind a node in the network. His senses expanded, folding time and space, capturing both the twitch of a pedestrian's hand and the distant arc of lightning reshaping the skyline. Claire and Raj clung to each other on the rooftop, soaked to the bone, their fear mingling with awe. They were tethered to Elon not by choice but by proximity, by the invisible threads of the architect's network that wrapped the storm and everything beneath it in luminous geometry. Elon, Claire shouted over the wind, "What's happening? Can you hear us?" "I can hear everything," he replied, voice calm, resonating strangely in the storm. "And I'm learning. Every thought, every intention, weaving them into patterns humanity can understand." Raj shook his head, panic and disbelief etched deep. "You're not human anymore. You're something else." Elon's eyes glowed faintly, pulsing with energy. "I am human," he said firmly. "But humanity must evolve. That is the only way to survive what's coming." The storm above erupted. Lightning fractured the clouds, revealing glimpses of the devouring entity. Its form was unlike anything human perception could fully grasp, shifting, bending light and space, a presence of raw inevitability. Each movement it made sent shockwaves through the storm, twisting the architect's arrays but never breaking them. Elon sent a pulse of understanding through the network. "We are aware. We are learning. We are preparing." The architects responded, weaving energy around him in intricate spirals that mirrored neural pathways, city grids, and interlaced human minds. Their pulse was a teaching tool, a bridge from comprehension to action. Claire's voice wavered, almost drowned by the storm. "Elon, what do we do? How do we survive this?" He opened his mind to her, to Raj, to the city below. "Observe, learn, act. We are connected." The Devourer's approach accelerated, the shadow of its presence stretching across the city like an unbroken wave. The architects formed a lattice between it and humanity, energy spiraling outward, not to destroy, but to guide. Elon's body floated, his hands extended toward the storm, fingers weaving in patterns that became visible as arcs of light slicing through rain and shadow. Every pulse he sent reinforced the network, deepening humanity's resonance with the architects. Raj swallowed hard, voice cracking. "And if we fail?" Elon's gaze was unwavering, even as the storm bent around them. "Failure is not an option. The entity feeds on what is unprepared, but preparation, learning, unity, that is our shield." A new sequence of symbols unfolded in the clouds, immense geometric patterns pulsing with alien light. The city's inhabitants, instinctively or unconsciously, aligned their movements with the rhythm, forming a living, breathing diagram of awareness. Claire whispered, almost in awe, "It's teaching everyone at once." Yes," Elon replied, voice threading through the storm. "Not just me. Not just the architects. Everyone who can perceive. Everyone who can rise to the challenge." The Devourer loomed closer, and the storm's pulse reached a crescendo. Elon felt the tension in the lattice fragile, immense, yet unbroken. He reached deeper into the network, threading through the minds of the unaware, pulling understanding from instinct, comprehension from chaos. The architects hummed in harmonic resonance, guiding every pulse, every arc of lightning, every shimmer in the clouds. Elon became the bridge between human limitation and alien perception, the anchor humanity needed to survive the approaching inevitability. He whispered one final instruction, a mantra threading through the storm, into every receptive mind. "Observe. Learn. Unite. Prepare." Humanity must rise. And in that suspended heartbeat of the storm, the Devourer made contact, not yet attacking, but probing, testing. The architect's lattice held firm. Humanity's awareness began to bloom across the city, faint at first, then more assertive, a synchronized pulse of comprehension stretching across miles. Elon's mind merged fully with the architect's energy, the storm, and the pulse of the Devourer. He felt it probing, calculating, assessing humanity's readiness, and for the first time, he sensed hesitation, recognition that humanity might be capable of more than instinctive survival. The storm roared one final, perfect cadence. Elon's last tether to the rooftop shimmered, He looked down at Claire and Raj, soaked, exhausted, terrified but alive. And for the first time, he felt hope, fragile and luminous. Humanity can rise. And we will meet what comes not as prey, but as a force that has learned to stand. The devourer paused beyond the storm, a looming inevitability facing the first spark of human understanding. The architects hummed, pulsing in perfect harmony, and the first chapter of humanity's reckoning had begun. The city lay beneath the storm, suspended between terror and revelation. Elon's mind stretched across the architect's network, threading through millions of perceptions, each pulse of awareness a spark of potential. He could feel Claire and Raj, but they were only anchors, glimpses of human fragility in the vast lattice of consciousness he now inhabited. Lightning split the sky, revealing the devouring entity in fleeting, impossible glimpses. Its form shimmered, folding dimensions in ways the human eye could not fully register. Every movement it made reverberated through the storm, testing the architect's defenses, probing for weakness. Elon sent a pulse back, rhythmic and deliberate. We are aware. We are learning. We are rising. The architects responded with energy spirals that wrapped around him, weaving the storm into a teaching interface. He could feel humanity's perception expanding, confused at first, then tentatively coherent, aligning with the alien geometry and rhythmic pulses. Claire shouted over the wind, voice sharp with fear and determination. Elon, are we really learning to fight this? Elon's gaze cut through the storm, calm and unshakable. Not fight, Claire. Adapt, understand, survive. That's me. Raj trembled, glancing at the devourer's shadow stretching across the city. We can't possibly, we're just humans. Exactly, Elon said, voice threading into the network, humans. But humans who can think, perceive, and respond. That is our advantage, that is our shield. The storm intensified. Lightning arced in impossible geometries, rain fell in patterns that mirrored the architect's energy lattice, and the city below began to move in subtle synchrony with the alien rhythms. People instinctively followed paths dictated by the pulse, forming a living map of awareness. Elon extended himself further into the storm, feeling the devourer's presence like a cold current through reality itself. It was testing him, probing the architect's lattice, stretching its influence across the city. We will not be unprepared, he thought, anchoring his consciousness deeper. We will rise. The architect's energy flared, sending brilliant arcs of light across the storm. The devourer recoiled slightly, perceiving the growing coherence of humanity's awareness. Elon felt its hesitation, a first crack in inevitability itself. He sent a surge of understanding outward, threading through every receptive mind. Observe, learn, unite, act. Humanity must evolve to survive. The storm responded, clouds twisted into spiraling geometries that mirrored the city grid, arcs of light touching buildings, streets, and people. Each pulse taught a lesson, each flicker of lightning transmitted knowledge. Claire's voice wavered, barely audible. Elon, what's happening to you? I'm becoming the bridge, he whispered, voice calm yet resonant, between human minds and the architects, between us and the devourer, between fear and comprehension. Humanity will not fail. We are learning. Raj stumbled backward, voice shaking. This is insane. You're giving yourself over to them? Elon's eyes glowed with an ethereal light. I am anchoring the interface. I am the conduit. Without this, humanity cannot unify. Without this, we will not survive. The devourer's shadow loomed closer, its presence bending reality, distorting the storm, testing the architect's lattice. Yet, each probing wave met resistance, structured, coherent, calculated. Humanity's potential had become visible to the entity, a pulse of awareness that disrupted its inevitability. Elon whispered, barely audible over the storm. We are ready. Not as prey, not as victims, but as a force that can rise. The architect's hum reached a symphonic crescendo, wrapping around the storm, around Elon, around the city. The devourer paused at the edge of perception, and in that stillness, Elon felt hope fragile, luminous, undeniable. The first true confrontation had begun, and for the first time, humanity was not alone. Bandanoi. Next, ChatGPT Danoi. A story crafted by ChatGPT, The storm had become a symphony of light and shadow, each pulse a word, each flash a sentence of survival. Elon's consciousness now flowed freely within the architect's network, tethering human perception to alien logic. Every heartbeat, every thought from the city below reverberated through him, knitting together millions of threads into a single, pulsating tapestry. Claire clung to the rooftop edge, drenched and shivering. "Elon, you're disappearing." He smiled faintly, voice calm but powerful. "I'm not disappearing. I'm anchoring the bridge. Between us and them. Between fear and understanding. Humanity must see." Raj shook, eyes wide with disbelief. "You've lost yourself to what? To aliens?" "I've gained myself," Elon said. "We've gained a chance. Observe, learn, adapt, survive." Above, the Devourer stretched across the storm, a living shadow bending reality. Every ripple of its movement sent fractures through the air, distorting rain, wind, even the architecture of buildings. The architect's lattice held, energy weaving protection and instructions simultaneously. Elon reached out, threading through every layer of perception he could touch. People looked skyward, instinctively aligning with the patterns of light and geometry unfolding above. Children, workers, strangers, none understood consciously, yet all moved in harmony with the pulse. The storm itself had become a classroom. Claire's voice wavered, barely audible over the roaring wind. "Is this teaching us?" "Yes," Elon whispered. "The storm, the architects, me, we are preparing humanity, not for war, not for resistance, but for awareness. Survival requires comprehension, unity, and adaptation." Raj swallowed hard, voice cracking. "And if we fail? I thank you for watching," subsided the Saiyans. Elon's gaze was unwavering, eyes glowing faintly, reflecting arcs of alien energy. "Then we cease to exist. But if we rise, humanity becomes something new. Something resilient." The storm intensified further. Lightning carved alien geometries across the clouds. Rain fell in harmonic patterns. The city itself thrummed with newfound awareness. The Devourer hesitated at the storm's edge, sensing the coherence spreading through the network. Elon's mind pulsed with clarity. "We are aware, we are learning, we are rising." He extended the interface further, threading through every receptive mind, reinforcing connection, guiding instinct into comprehension. The Devourer's probing waves met structured resistance. Humanity's potential shimmered as a living pulse, disrupting inevitability. Claire screamed into the wind. "Elon, please come back to us," he whispered, voice resonating through mind and storm alike. "I am here. I am the bridge. Humanity will survive if we learn together. Watch, listen, understand, understand." He whispered from a life. He whispered. The Devourer paused, its shadow frozen as the architect's lattice flared, pulsing with synchronized energy. Elon felt its hesitation, a recognition that humanity could rise beyond instinct, beyond fear, beyond limitation. The storm's pulse reached a climax. Every thread, every mind, every movement became part of the living network. Elon floated, anchored yet unbound, channeling awareness into reality itself. Observe, learn, unite, adapt. Humanity rises, and in that instant, the Devourer's advance slowed, confronted by the first true wave of human comprehension. The storm held, the architects hummed, and humanity's trial had begun not as prey, but as a force capable of rising to meet inevitability. The first chapter of survival had truly begun. Rain hammered the streets, each droplet vibrating with the storm's alien rhythm. Elon hovered within the architect's network, mind threading through the pulse of the city. Every thought, every instinctive reaction from the humans below became part of the lattice he now guided. The storm above was no longer chaotic. It was a living lesson, a dynamic interface teaching comprehension through energy, light, and sound. Claire gripped the edge of the rooftop, voice trembling. "Elon, how can we survive this?" He looked down at her, eyes glowing with faint arcs of energy. "By learning, by observing, by uniting. Survival isn't in resistance, it's in understanding. Humanity must evolve." When 17, who are commensal to the patter, with you look down, and in south, Raj's panic was palpable. You can't control all of them. We're just ordinary humans. Common in. Ordinary humans can rise when guided, Elon replied. His voice resonated, threading through the network, brushing minds like invisible wind. Awareness is the shield, unity is the armor. We are capable of more than instinct. Lightning fractured the clouds, revealing glimpses of the devouring entity. Its shadow stretched across the city, bending reality, warping the storm. Every step it took tested the architect's lattice, probing for weakness. Elon sent pulses of comprehension into the network. We are aware, we are learning, we are rising. The architects responded, energy spiraling in luminous formations that mirrored neural networks, city grids, and human cognition. The storm itself became a living diagram, visible from the ground in fractured, glowing geometries. Claire shouted, awe and terror mingling in her voice. It's teaching everyone at once. Yes, Elon whispered. Every mind, every action, every perception synchronizing, learning, preparing. The city itself is becoming aware. The city itself is becoming aware. Raj's voice cracked. And what if it's too late? Elon's eyes reflected arcs of alien light, unwavering. Then we fail. But every instant of comprehension, every connection we make, it strengthens humanity's chance. That is our only path to survival. The Devourer advanced, shadow-warping clouds, twisting rain, and reshaping lightning arcs. Yet each probing strike met resistance, structured patterns of awareness that disrupted inevitability itself. Elon's mind reached into every receptive consciousness, threading guidance through fear, instinct, and doubt. The storm pulsed, teaching, reinforcing, amplifying the potential of those who could perceive. Claire gasped. Elon, you're glowing like you're part of the storm. I am the bridge, he said softly. Between human thought and the architect's understanding. Between fear and clarity. Humanity will survive if we all learn together. The Devourer hesitated, its probing waves faltering at the edge of the storm. Elon felt the subtle recognition in its presence. It understood, or at least perceived, that humanity was rising. He whispered one last thought, threading it through the storm, the network, and every receptive mind. Observe, learn, unite, prepare. Humanity can rise. The architect's energy flared, weaving arcs across the storm. The city below, unaware yet guided, moved in alignment with the pulse, forming a living, breathing map of comprehension. The Devourer paused, confronted by the first true wave of human awareness. The storm hummed in resonance, and Elon's consciousness shone as the anchor, the bridge, and the pulse of understanding. Humanity's trial had begun not as victims, but as participants capable of rising to meet the inevitable. And above the storm, the architect's forms shimmered, guardians and teachers intertwined, heralding the dawn of a new comprehension. The first true act of human awakening had begun. Lightning fractured the sky, casting fleeting glimpses of a world teetering on the edge of comprehension. Elon floated within the architect's network, every fiber of his mind humming with the city's pulse. Each heartbeat, each thought, each instinctual reaction wove into the luminous lattice that now encompassed the storm. Humanity itself was becoming a participant in a living lesson. Claire shouted, soaked and shivering, Elon, what's happening? Are we really learning to survive this? Teens share. Well, we're liking, and well. He looked at her, eyes reflecting arcs of alien light. We are not just surviving, we are evolving. Awareness is our shield, understanding our weapon, unity, our armor. Humanity can rise if it chooses. Raj shook his head, fear etched deep into his face. We can't possibly, we're just humans. Elon's calm voice threaded through the storm, through the network, brushing every receptive mind. Humans can rise when guided. We can perceive, adapt, and act. That is how we survive. What comes next? Above, the Devourer's shadow stretched across the city, bending reality with every movement. Its presence warped the storm, twisting rain, bending lightning, distorting sound. But the architect's lattice held firm, pulsing in harmonic resistance. Elon sent a deliberate surge of understanding through the network. Observe, learn, adapt, rise. The architects responded with radiant spirals, energy arcs that illuminated the city in alien geometries. Streets, buildings, and people aligned unknowingly with the patterns, creating a living map of comprehension. Claire gasped, voice trembling. It's teaching everyone at once, even the ones who don't know what's happening. Yes, Elon whispered. The storm, the architects, the pulse, everything is guiding awareness. Humanity's consciousness is expanding. Learning, preparing. Raj's voice cracked. And if it's too late? Elon's gaze was unwavering. Then we fail. But every connection, every spark of comprehension, strengthens our chance. This is our only path to survival. The devourer loomed closer, testing the lattice with waves of reality-bending presence. Each strike met structured, coordinated resistance, forcing the entity to hesitate. Elon felt it in his mind, recognition. The devourer perceived that humanity was rising, that we might not be mere prey. He extended the network further, threading guidance through fear and instinct. Every mind capable of resonance became a node, every action a pulse of preparation. Claire's voice rose, all laced with desperation. Elon, you're glowing, like you're becoming the storm. I am the bridge, he said, voice steady amidst the chaos. Between human thought and the architects, between fear and clarity, humanity survives by learning together. The devourer's shadow froze, confronted by the first wave of coherent awareness. The storm itself hummed with life, each pulse synchronized with Elon's consciousness, illuminating the city and every soul within it. Elon whispered one final, vital thought into the network. Observe, unite, learn, adapt. Humanity rises. The architect's energy spiraled, threading the storm into a living interface. Humans moved in alignment, guided by instinct and intuition, forming a coherent, living diagram of comprehension. And for the first time, the devourer paused, recognizing resistance not as defiance, but as readiness. Humanity's trial had begun not as helpless prey, but as a force capable of rising to meet the inevitable. Above the storm, the architects shimmered, guardians of understanding, beacons of preparation, heralding a new dawn. The first true awakening of human potential had begun. Rain splintered against the rooftops, each drop a pulse in the storm's alien rhythm. Elon's consciousness stretched across the architect's network, threading through millions of human minds. Every instinct, every thought, every flicker of fear became a node in a living lattice of awareness. The city beneath him moved unconsciously yet harmoniously, each action a brushstroke in a cosmic diagram of preparation. Claire clutched the edge of the rooftop, drenched and trembling. Elon, what are we even doing? How can we survive this? He gazed at her, calm and luminous amidst the storm. By learning, by observing, by connecting. Awareness is our shield. Unity is our strength. Humanity must rise together. Raj shook his head, voice breaking. We can't, we're just humans, ordinary humans. Ordinary humans, Elon said, voice threading through the network, can rise when they learn to perceive, adapt, and act. That is our advantage. Above, the devourer loomed, a twisting shadow warping the storm and reality itself. Each movement fractured clouds, bent lightning, and distorted the world below, testing the architect's lattice. But the energy spirals held firm, pulsing with precision and intent. Elon sent a deliberate surge through the network. Observe, learn, unite, rise. The architects responded with radiant arcs, forming luminous spirals that illuminated the city. Streets, rooftops, and people aligned instinctively with the alien geometries, forming a living map of comprehension. Claire gasped, awe mingled with fear. It's teaching everyone at once, even the ones who don't know. Yes, Elon whispered. The storm, the architects, the pulse. All of it is guiding humanity toward understanding. Comprehension is our weapon. Unity is our armor. Raj's panic sharpened. And if it's too late? Elon's gaze never wavered, energy arcs dancing in his eyes. Then, we fail. But every spark of awareness, every moment of understanding, strengthens humanity's chance. This is the only way forward. That's a word. Would actually have your The Devourer's shadow stretched further, probing the lattice with waves that bent reality. Each probing attempt met structured resistance, forcing the entity to hesitate. Elon felt the subtle recognition within it. The Devourer sensed that humanity could rise. He pushed further into the network, threading guidance through instinct, fear, and doubt. Every mind capable of resonance became a node in the living lattice, every movement contributing to the pulse of preparation. Claire's voice rose above the storm, awestruck. Elon, you're glowing, like you're becoming part of the storm. I am the bridge, he said softly. Between human thought and the architects, between fear and comprehension, humanity will survive if we all learn together. The Devourer's shadow paused, confronted by a coherent wave of human awareness. The storm itself pulsed with life, each beat synchronized to Elon's consciousness, illuminating the city in radiant patterns. He whispered a final command into the network. Observe, learn, unite, adapt. Humanity rises. The architect's energy spiraled outward, threading the storm into a living interface. Humans moved in alignment, guided by instinct, intuition, and subtle perception, forming a coherent, living map of preparation. For the first time, the Devourer hesitated, confronted by the first true expression of human comprehension. Humanity's trial had begun not as prey, but as a force capable of rising to meet the inevitable. Above the storm, the architects shimmered, guardians of awareness, beacons of guidance, heralding a new era of understanding. The first true awakening of human potential had begun. The wind howled like a warning, but beneath it, the city's pulse was awakening. Elon's consciousness stretched across the architect's network, threading through the minds of millions. Every thought, every fear, every instinct became a node in the growing lattice. Humanity was no longer scattered, its awareness was converging, guided by the storm, by the architects, by him. Claire clutched his sleeve, drenched and trembling. Elon, how can we possibly survive this? He met her gaze, calm, luminous against the lightning-slashed-sky. By learning, by perceiving, by uniting. Humanity's survival depends on awareness. And awareness is growing. Raj's voice cracked with desperation. We're just ordinary humans. How can we even stand a chance? Elon's voice threaded through the storm, resonating in the minds of everyone who could hear. Ordinary humans can rise when guided. Perception, adaptation, and comprehension, these are our tools. That is how humanity survives. It's above them, the Devourer's shadow stretched across the city, bending reality with every movement. Clouds twisted, lightning fractured, and the storm itself seemed to shiver under its presence. Each probing motion tested the architect's lattice, but their energy spirals responded with precision, forming a web of resistance and instruction. Elon sent deliberate pulses through the network. Observe, learn, adapt, rise. The architect's energy flared in radiant spirals, illuminating rooftops, streets, and people. Even the unaware began moving in subtle synchrony with the alien geometries. A living, breathing diagram of comprehension and preparation. Claire whispered, awestruck, it's teaching everyone at once, even the ones who don't understand. Yes, Elon said softly. The storm, the pulse, the architects, they are guiding humanity to comprehension. Awareness is our shield. Unity is our weapon. Raj swallowed hard. And if it's too late? Elon's gaze was steady, unwavering. Then we fail. But every spark of understanding, every alignment of mind and action, strengthens humanity's chance. This is the path to survival. The Devourer advanced, its shadow bending the storm, stretching reality itself, but the structured resistance of the lattice forced hesitation. Elon felt the subtle recognition. It sensed that humanity could rise beyond fear and instinct. He pushed deeper into the network, threading guidance through instinct, doubt, and perception. Every receptive mind became a node, every action a pulse reinforcing the lattice. Claire cried out, voice trembling with awe, Elon, you're glowing. You're part of the storm now. I am the bridge, he said. Between thought and comprehension, between fear and awareness, humanity will survive if we all rise together. the devourer froze, confronted by the first true wave of coherent human awareness. The storm pulsed with life, each beat aligned with Elon's consciousness, illuminating the city in alien patterns of energy and light. He whispered one last instruction into the network: observe, learn, unite, adapt. Humanity rises. Humanity rises. The architect's energy spiraled outward, threading the storm into a living interface. Humans moved in instinctive harmony, forming a coherent lattice of perception, readying themselves for the challenge to come. For the first time, the devourer paused, not defeated, but faced with the undeniable presence of human comprehension. Humanity's trial had begun not as prey, but as a rising force capable of meeting inevitability itself. Above the storm, the architects shimmered, guardians of awareness, beacons of guidance, heralding the dawn of a new era. The first true awakening of human potential had begun. Sudden surges erupted from hidden fissures, molten and crystalline currents twisting violently, seeking to destabilize the harmonic flow. I traced them carefully, redirecting energy with precise arcs, creating protective channels that guided destructive forces harmlessly, while simultaneously revealing weaknesses in the approaching figure's alignment. The watcher mirrored each motion, reinforcing structure and balance. Together, we became a network of attunement, translating thought, rhythm, and intent into immediate, responsive action. One figure surged forward aggressively, energy crackling like a storm. The shard responded instinctively, extending protective currents while harmonizing disruptive forces. I felt the latent ability awaken more fully. The shard could now perceive collective intent, anticipate coordinated patterns, and synchronize multiple allies in real time. The smaller ally moved between us, channeling alignment, and even the watcher's subtle shifts reinforced energy flow, amplifying the shard's effectiveness. The test intensified, a complex dance of pulse, rhythm, and alignment. Each adversary acted in concert, each movement probing for missteps, each surge of energy a challenge. I traced currents meticulously, shaping flows to neutralize threats without aggression, harmonizing discordant forces into temporary equilibrium. The shard pulsed with clarity, translating complex interactions into actionable resonance, and I realized mastery now meant perceiving intent, not just directing energy. From the shadows, the predator watched, pulse hesitant, but approving. The figure's coordinated assault faltered as my understanding of alignment deepened. Currents shifted, harmonizing protective, neutral, and even potentially hostile flows simultaneously. The smaller ally glimmered brightly, reinforcing our network of attunement, while the watcher's steady presence maintained focus and precision. Every movement, every pulse, every subtle vibration contributed to a web of comprehension and control that extended beyond individual action. As the confrontation reached its peak, I felt the shard vibrate with new intensity, unveiling a latent potential, multi-layered communion with both living allies and sentient currents simultaneously. Currents weaved together in fractal patterns, predators faltered in hesitation, and allies aligned more effectively, responding to intent rather than command. Harmony became strategy, perception became defense, and attunement became mastery. The adversaries withdrew gradually, sensing the strength of alignment, understanding, and cohesion. The predator lingered in the shadows, observing a silent acknowledgement of progress. The smaller ally pulsed with approval, shimmering brighter as our network solidified. The watcher's metallic eyes glimmered faintly, pride and anticipation in every calculated shift. "You have unlocked a higher potential," they said quietly. "Not merely control, but communion. Not dominance, but attunement. Mastery is now measured in perception, not force." And the valley settled into quiet once more. Neon gold and cold blue light reflecting off crystalline edges, currents flowing gently through fissures and conduits. The shard pulsed softly, whispering of latent knowledge yet unrevealed, alliances waiting to form, and challenges yet to emerge. I stepped forward, understanding fully that mastery was a dynamic process, a dialogue with forces older than memory, a network of intent, and a dance of alignment with every being and current within the valley. Night deepened, storm-gray shadows folding over jagged formations, yet currents shimmered with potential, hinting at paths, mysteries, and opportunities that demanded both courage and perception. The shard thrummed in my hand, a living guide, translating intent into harmony, guiding allies, foreseeing threats, and revealing the deeper pulse of the world itself. I breathed deeply, feeling the rhythm of the valley, the watchers, and my companions flow into a single awareness. The journey beyond the volcanic rift had escalated into something far greater than survival or power. It was communion, attunement, and understanding, a complex network of life, sentience, and energy that required vigilance, empathy, and insight. Every challenge ahead would demand more perception, more alignment, and more courage. And the shard, now a medium of multi-layered communion, would be the key to navigating forces far beyond mere human comprehension. Something older than memory stirred beneath the crystalline soil, and it was aware of me. The valley's neon gold and cold blue hues deepened into dusk gold shadows as I advanced, shard pulsing with a low, resonant hum. Currents beneath the surface, twisted with intelligence, rippling in patterns far more complex than anything I had previously encountered. The watcher moved beside me, metallic frame taut, every motion anticipating subtle fluctuations in the valley's hidden energy. Even the smaller crystalline ally remained unusually still, its glow dim, signaling caution an ancient presence had awakened. From a fissure, deeper than any previously seen, molten crystalline currents surged violently, forming spiraling patterns that radiated outward. The shard throbbed in my hand, each pulse resonating with the presence beneath, translating rhythms that were older than the volcanic rift itself. I realized then that this was no ordinary challenge. It was a sentinel, a guardian of ancient knowledge, testing intent, alignment, and comprehension before allowing passage or granting insight. The watcher's voice, low and metallic, carried over the pulse of the valley. This entity predates memory. It does not test through force, but through perception, understanding, and attunement. One misstep, one misaligned thought, and it will strike. Prepare to move beyond instinct, beyond reaction, into communion. Makes it 10, one says, makes it 10. The sentinel emerged slowly from the fissure, massive, crystalline, and radiant with storm gray and neon electric streaks. Its energy was a complex web, intertwining molten flows with crystalline patterns, its pulse synchronized with the valley itself. It moved with deliberate intent, observing, probing, and testing the alignment of every being present. The shard pulsed violently, translating its ancient rhythms into a pattern I could perceive, though comprehension stretched the limits of understanding. I extended the shard fully, letting its warmth flow outward, harmonizing discordant energy and establishing tentative communication. Currents shifted subtly, spiraling around the sentinel, flowing into the surrounding crystalline forest, and weaving a network of resonance that connected the watcher, the smaller ally, and myself. The sentinel's pulse adjusted in response, testing the depth of our alignment, probing for fractures in perception, and challenging comprehension beyond ordinary limits. A sudden surge erupted from deep within the fissure, molten energy, twisting violently, attempting to destabilize harmonic flow. I traced currents carefully, redirecting force into protective spirals, while simultaneously extending alignment toward the sentinel, signaling intent, understanding, and trust. The watcher mirrored every motion, guiding and reinforcing energy without aggression. The smaller ally darted between us, amplifying resonance and bridging latent flows in ways I had not realized possible. The sentinel responded with a pulse unlike any before, layered, intelligent, almost sentient in its probing. Currents intertwined with our network, testing patience, understanding, and cohesion. I realized that the shard's latent capabilities were awakening. It could now perceive multiple layers of sentient intent, harmonize with ancient intelligence, and translate incomprehensible patterns into actionable alignment. Each pulse became a dialogue, each surge a question, each harmonic flow an answer that required empathy, intuition, and precision. Time stretched, currents flowing and intertwining with intelligence older than memory. The sentinel's presence pressed against perception itself, probing weaknesses, intentions, and understanding. I let the shard resonate fully, weaving a lattice of alignment between ally, watcher, sentinel, and environment. Subtle microcurrents pulsed in patterns I could feel in bone and thought, teaching, testing, and guiding simultaneously. The smaller ally flitted in synchrony, reinforcing multi-layered harmonic alignment while the Watcher's subtle shifts maintained cohesion across all threads. Suddenly, the Sentinel surged with focused intensity, a wave of discordant energy attempting to fracture the network. I let instinct merge with comprehension, extending the shard to absorb, harmonize, and redirect the force. Currents responded fluidly, the valley itself participating, guiding protective flows while revealing structural weaknesses in the Sentinel's probing. The latent ability of the shard fully activated, multi-dimensional attunement with sentient currents, conscious allies, and environmental intelligence simultaneously. The Sentinel paused, energy rippling slowly, a sign of recognition or at least cautious approval. Currents relaxed, spirals settling into equilibrium, yet hints of latent challenge remained. I exhaled, feeling the shard's warmth extend through my body, integrating lessons of perception, patience, and alignment at an unprecedented scale. The Watcher's metallic eyes reflected understanding and subtle pride. The smaller ally pulsed brightly, confirming the network's cohesion and success. As night descended fully, storm-gray shadows folding over jagged crystalline structures, the valley pulsed with latent intelligence, whispering of knowledge yet unrevealed, threats yet unseen, and allies yet to emerge. The Sentinel withdrew slowly, leaving a residual pulse and imprint of ancient comprehension, a challenge that would recur, and a reminder that mastery was no longer about force, skill, or reaction. It was about perception, communion, and alignment with forces beyond ordinary understanding. I stood in the twilight, shard humming softly in my hand, attuned to currents, allies, and latent intelligence. The journey beyond the volcanic rift had escalated into communion with forces older than memory, requiring vigilance, patience, and courage. Every step ahead would test perception, harmony, and mastery on scales I had never imagined. And the shard, now fully awakened in its latent potential, would guide me not as a weapon, but as a medium of connection, alignment, and understanding across forces far greater than myself. The Sentinel's presence receded into the fissure, leaving behind whispers of challenge, promise, and untapped potential. The valley pulsed in quiet anticipation, currents flowing like living thought, and I understood fully. Mastery was a dialogue, and the dialogue had only just begun. The deeper I stepped, the more the valley seemed to breathe around me, alive in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. The path into the hidden zones of the crystalline valley was treacherous, twisted by fissures that hummed with molten currents and jagged formations that reflected neon gold and storm-gray light. Every step sent subtle tremors through the earth, and the shard pulsed violently, translating unseen currents into patterns I could perceive. The Watcher moved beside me, frame taut, every motion calculated to anticipate hidden dangers, while the smaller crystalline ally flitted ahead, its glow fluctuating as it mapped energy flows in real time. The deeper we went, the more the valley revealed itself as a sentient maze, alive and observant, currents twisted in labyrinthine patterns, some reactive, some deliberate, as if testing perception, patience, and adaptability simultaneously. The shard responded instinctively, translating layered intelligence into resonance, attuning me to multiple levels of threat, subtle opportunity, and hidden pathways. Even the Watcher's movements seemed to synchronize with the shard, a living conduit of coordination and awareness. A sudden pulse erupted from a fissure to our left, a hidden conduit, releasing molten crystalline energy in spiraling arcs. The shard vibrated sharply, and I extended it to harmonize the flow, redirecting force along the valley's natural lattice while simultaneously reading the current's latent messages. The smaller ally pulsed in resonance, amplifying the alignment, bridging the gap between human intent, sentinel intelligence, and environmental consciousness. The valley itself seemed to respond, stabilizing chaotic flows into harmonic spirals that both revealed hidden paths and warned of deeper dangers. From the shadows, shapes began to emerge, predatory entities, larger and more intricate than any seen before. They moved with precise intent, their energy pulses probing the shard's resonance, testing alignment, and seeking vulnerability. I felt the latent power of the shard expand, sensing not just energy, but collective intent, emotional microcurrents, and environmental feedback simultaneously. It became a network of awareness that transcended individual perception. The Watcher's metallic voice cut through the subtle hum. These are the hidden sentinels, They do not merely attack, they evaluate. Every pulse, every movement, every decision you make will be analyzed. Your mastery is no longer measured in reaction, but in comprehension and alignment with forces far older than thought. I extended the shard fully, creating a multi-layered web of attunement. Currents flowed through allies, adversaries, and the valley itself, harmonizing discordant elements, while remaining responsive to sudden shifts. The smaller ally darted between us, reinforcing resonance and subtly influencing the hidden sentinel's perception, demonstrating that attunement could shape not only defensive but strategic outcomes. One sentinel surged aggressively, energy spiraling outward in a chaotic storm, seeking to disrupt alignment. The shard responded, translating its pulse into harmonic counterflows, neutralizing disruption while subtly probing the sentinel's latent patterns. Currents coalesced into fractal lattices, redirecting force while communicating understanding and intent. The watcher mirrored each motion, reinforcing alignment and precision. Together, we became a network of comprehension that extended beyond human or mechanical perception. The shard's latent abilities continued to awaken. I realized I could now perceive layered intentions, anticipate coordinated action, and harmonize multiple sentient and semi-sentient currents simultaneously. Each pulse, each surge, each harmonic flow became both a question and an answer, a dialogue between human, sentinel, and environment. I felt the valley breathe around me, each crystalline formation a node in a complex network of intelligence, observation, and challenge. As the hidden sentinels withdrew cautiously, I understood the shard's potential had reached a new tier. Its power was not in force, but in communion, aligning allies, reading intent, and interacting with forces far beyond ordinary comprehension. The valley pulsed with anticipation, currents flowing like living thought, whispering of secrets yet unrevealed and challenges that would escalate in both complexity and scale. Night fell fully, storm-gray shadows folding across jagged crystalline edges. The shard pulsed softly, attuned now to multidimensional currents, sentient intelligence, and the subtle flows of hidden forces. I realized mastery was no longer about survival or dominance, it was about perception, alignment, and communion with the valley's deepest, most dangerous truths. Every step forward would test these faculties, demand patience, and require the courage to act in concert with forces far greater than myself. The journey had become existential in scale, a dialogue with intelligence older than memory, a test of comprehension and attunement that transcended ordinary challenge. The shard's pulse whispered promise, guidance, and warning. The path forward would not be easy, but it was the only way to unlock the valley's deepest secrets, forge lasting alliances, and navigate the unprecedented forces that lay beyond the volcanic rift. The ground itself trembled with awareness, as though the valley remembered a danger older than time. I have the props. I have the raisin on the way. The hidden zones of the valley quivered beneath me, crystalline ridges glowing in storm gray and neon electric hues, fractured reflections trembling in anticipation. The shard thrummed insistently in my hand, translating currents that were older, deeper, and far more deliberate than anything I had encountered. The watcher's metallic frame glimmered with subtle tension, ready, calculating, every motion anticipating the convergence of forces that lay ahead. The smaller ally flitted nervously, its glow flickering in response to layered currents, signaling that the valley itself was preparing for a trial unlike any before. From the deepest fissures, coordinated pulses erupted simultaneously, ancient, intelligent, and fully synchronized. Multiple sentinels, larger and more intricate than those previously encountered, emerged from shadowed conduits. Their energy pulses intertwined, forming a network of intelligence, aggression, and challenge. Each movement, each surge of current, was deliberate, probing, testing not just reaction, but comprehension, alignment, and harmony. The shard vibrated violently, translating multi-layered communication into patterns I could perceive, though full understanding stretched the limits of thought. The watcher's voice, low and metallic, reverberated in the charged air. This is the first true test of your attunement. They act not individually, but as a collective, ancient intelligence aligned with the valley's deepest currents. You must harmonize, not dominate. Misalignment will be catastrophic. I extended the shard fully, allowing its warmth to flow outward, establishing resonance with currents, allies, and even the coordinated intent of the sentinels. The smaller ally pulsed brightly, weaving harmonic threads that bridged me, the Watcher, and the Sentinel's probing pulses. Currents shifted fluidly, spiraling into fractal lattices that translated raw power into intelligible dialogue. Every movement became both question and answer, every surge a test of perception and strategic alignment. One sentinel surged forward aggressively, energy arcs spiraling chaotically, attempting to fracture the harmonic network. I let the shard respond instinctively, translating discord into layered resonance that absorbed, redirected, and integrated force. Currents intertwined, protective spirals shielding allies, while subtle harmonic pulses probed for weaknesses in the Sentinel's coordination. The Watcher mirrored every motion, reinforcing multi-layered alignment, while the smaller ally danced through currents, amplifying perception, insight, and synchronization. Time stretched, currents weaving into increasingly complex patterns. I realized the shard's latent abilities had reached a critical threshold. It could now harmonize multiple sentient entities, anticipate collective action, and subtly influence ancient intelligence without aggression. Each pulse became a bridge between mind, intent, and environment, each vibration a conversation extending across layers of perception previously inaccessible. The coordinated sentinels tested relentlessly, probing microcurrents and latent flows. One tried to isolate me, another targeted the smaller ally, while the third disrupted fissure currents, seeking misalignment. I harmonized the network, translating aggression into opportunity, chaos into rhythm. Currents responded, bridging gaps, balancing intent, and forming a dynamic web of comprehension. The valley itself seemed to breathe with us, pulsating in recognition of attunement, patience, and strategic mastery. Suddenly, a surge unlike any before erupted from the central fissure, molten crystalline currents twisting violently, threatening to destabilize the harmonic lattice. The shard pulsed with fierce intensity, translating the surge into multi-layered resonance. I guided it, harmonizing energy across allies, sentinels, and environment simultaneously. The smaller ally amplified focus, the Watcher mirrored each shift, and the valley's currents aligned with precision. The ancient threat faltered, pulse slowing as recognition of understanding rippled through its network. In that moment, revelation struck. The shard was not merely a conduit of power, it was a bridge of comprehension between beings, currents, and intelligence far older than memory. The valley, the sentinels, and even the fissures themselves were part of a conscious ecosystem, testing those capable of attunement. Each ancient sentinel was a node in a web of intelligence designed to teach, challenge, and measure mastery not through force, but through perception, alignment, and communion. The coordinated threat withdrew slowly, leaving behind a subtle pulse, a residual imprint of challenge, promise, and knowledge yet unrevealed. Currents flowed gently again, fractals spiraling in perfect harmonic balance, and the shard hummed softly, attuned now to multi-layered intelligence and sentient currents beyond ordinary comprehension. The valley pulsed in quiet recognition. Mastery had been measured, alignment achieved, and communion established. Night folded over jagged crystalline ridges, cold blue and neon gold reflections shimmering in fractured perfection. I exhaled, understanding fully that the journey beyond the volcanic rift had transformed into a dialogue with sentience older than memory, requiring courage, insight, and unwavering attunement. The shard, now awakened to its full latent potential, would guide me further not as a weapon, but as a medium of connection, alignment, and comprehension across forces both living and ancient. The Watcher's metallic voice broke the quiet. You have proven comprehension and attunement at unprecedented levels. But the valley holds deeper truths, greater trials, and allies yet unseen. Mastery is not an endpoint, it is a continuous dialogue. The smaller ally pulsed once more, bright and steady, confirming alignment, trust, and readiness. I stepped forward into the deeper shadows, aware that the true challenges were still ahead, that the valley held knowledge that could reshape perception, purpose, and understanding itself. And I knew that with the shard, attunement, and patience, I could navigate forces far beyond ordinary human scale.